Hello everybody. This is all I have to say. This is Jan for good old Chess 24 and we will be having hopefully a fun night of chess. There is a Simul with Magnus Carlsen going on in the faraway city of Copenhagen, Denmark. The Simul is about to start. You can see Magnus being talked to there. On the very video he will take on 25 opponents at the same time. The toughest challenge there is in chess. Not really. It's more like allowing a chess player to speak their language. And I'm fairly certain that Magnus will destroy all these opponents, but this is only the opening act. Because after that he will play a little rapid match against the great hope of Danish chess. Jonas Bjerre, who I think is 14 years old, around 2500 rated. Magnus's manager has compared it to Magnus playing Kasparov at age 13. I'm not sure, that sounds to be putting a lot of pressure on Jonas Buhl, but he is certainly a talented young player who is, I believe, number 8 in the world rankings under 16. So it should be a fun little match. But for now, we shall explore if Mr. Magnus will manage to put some pressure on his opponents in this Simul. Not just by shaking their hands as brutally as he can, but also with moves on the board. Tech Jan has a little work to sort out here, so apologies if this is gonna take a while, because the only video feed that I'm getting is from the Danish show that they're doing on site there, and the problem is if they switch cameras it looks a little broken here, so this will be maybe Tech Jan's toughest challenge yet. Because if they switch from full screen to not so full screen, you can see what happens on my little screen here. And they seem to be very motivated to be doing that every 8 seconds. So yeah, we'll have a fun little time here. Anyway, let's have a look if any moves are coming through already. On all these many boards I have here, I have a great number of boards with player names and probably company names, but I do not see any action on these very boards yet. Guys, are these boards connected to some magical DGT technology? If not, we will have to use the eye test to figure out what's happening there, but that might be, you know, a little rough. We'll find out, hopefully soon. Tough schedule for Magnus. He's doing the Simul. After that, he is going to Scotland to play a rapid tournament against some of the world's best players. And then he has Norway Chess to play classical tournament, also against some of the world's best players. So he stays busy. And I will stay busy switching these windows so we can look at the champ looking sharp there in his grey suit. Making moves on the board. Traditionally in chess simuls, you face like 20 till 30 opponents. Okay, this will eventually drive me nuts. You get white on all the boards. That's the privilege of the Simul giver. The score usually depends a lot on the level of opposition. If you do it like against a chess club and it's a team of whatever, 3rd till 5th league strength, then you will drop quite some points, even if you're Magnus Carlsen. Famously, for example, Garry Kasparov refused to play in Simuls against opponents rated higher than 2000. So I don't think there are any such agreements in place today. I'm guessing, since there are a lot of corporate names attached to Magnus's opponents, that those are mainly representatives of companies that sponsor the event, and therefore the average level of opposition might be somewhat lower. But I could be very wrong. Maybe we will be proven wrong. Okay, looks like we got a new source for that magical thing called digitally transmitted games. So let's see if anything's happening on there. Not yet. They're trying to switch to our source, but they haven't done it yet. The usual teething problems that are very typical for round number 1 of chess tournaments. The TGT boards don't work, the FTP doesn't work, whatever doesn't work. Let's hope that this will get sorted out before the first checkmate, because Magnus is pretty ruthless. While he's taking his little trips there. We got moves. We have lift off, ladies and gentlemen. So let's try to figure out who's better and why in these 25 games. I need some info. Who are the tough guys here? Looks like Magnus is following a typical Simul giver strategy to alternate his first moves. Going over the boards, here we have a King's Indian. Then in this one we do have a dragon. I think G6 was played. Then we have in the game Carlsen versus Abling Thompson. 1 d4, and it's sort of a Torah attack. So the world champion so far seems to not be messing around, very focused on occupying the center. Here he plays the Marochi, also a good line for white. And here he plays a line that he has used in tournament play in this very year. Won a nice game against Anish Giri, for example, with his move 4 e4, bishop c5, followed by knight takes e5. And I'm getting some intel on Twitch. Thank you. NakaFan 2016 is saying Mr. Molvik is 2099 feet. Well, this guy here, who went knight a5, not knight takes e5, after knight e5, I would guess, or maybe this girl, I'm not sure which it is, I would guess is lower rated than that, because knight a5 is sort of an indication that you are ignoring some chess principles, like take the horses and don't put your own horses on the edge of the board. So this looks pretty good for white, I would dare to say, after knight to a5, pawn to d4. The game is pretty much over. And I'm being told more stuff. I'm being told that board 1 is a 2100 CM. That's a candidate master? Arguably one of the most underrated titles in chess. Board 2 is a 79-year-old IM. Wow. Who's that? Jakob Ablik Thompson? That name sounds familiar. Maybe he's the international master. Board 3 is a 2350 IM. That's not here. Maybe it's Sven Hamann. Board 4 is a 1985 WFM. Is that Luisa Fredericia? I know her. Let Tekjan do some business, so while I'm mumbling nonsense here, we can at least see the world champion of the world of chess in low resolution, but in full glory, taking his turns. I'm a bit curious about the scheduling, because I cannot detect any chess clocks. And they started the Simul at 7 p.m. and the rapid match is supposed to start at 9:45, while the interview that Magnus will be giving later is supposed to start at 9 p.m. So according to my math, which is pretty good, he only has 2 hours, or less than 2 hours, to finish off these 25 opponents, which would be a pretty tight schedule anywhere. Like 2 hours to beat 25 people, finish them off. Won't be easy. I was wondering if I should work in a Thai massage parlor joke in there, but I decided not to. Seemed uncalled for. So let's have a look at more of the action on the boards. This one, Leiboschitz, Leonard Leiboschitz, representing the Folkehuset Absalon. My best guess is Folkehuset means people's house, and Absalon I'm less sure about. Anyway, I would guess he's a qualified chess player, but not highly qualified chess player. a6 is sort of a reasonable move, but not a good move. And after bishop d3, c takes d4 is also a bit premature, because now after c takes d4, this knight gets access to this square without black getting anything much in return. If white goes knight b4, black goes knight b4 here, the bishop just goes away, then a3, knight c3. So it does look like the longer we scroll on this little list, the better Carlsen's positions are getting. Here he played a very quiet, non-confrontational English opening, which he recently used successfully, for example against MVL in Granca Chess. And what do we have here? Oh, the Carlsbad structure, a Carlsen favorite. He likes to call everything. This is a good Carlsbad structure, no matter if it's good or bad. I don't think there is such a thing as a bad Carlsbad structure in his book. Carlsbad structure we refer to this Queen's Gambit setup after c takes d5. E takes d5. Play Queen c2, sneakily attacking this h7 pawn. Probably already thinking, clock is ticking, we're already 19 minutes in, haven't checkmated anybody. It is about time to at least grab an h7 pawn to get things started. In this game against Ingrid Hallstein, representing Danish Energy. That sounds important. The black player was maybe a little too energetic, I would say. Because here after e5, d5, the horse with no name got taken. And f5, c4 takes, f6 also sort of leaves new weaknesses in the black camp. So piece down and a very bad position. Already starting to feel like Magnus might gain the upper hand in this one. In Magnus Carlsen against Eric Arctander, we have another sort of non-standard opening. Generally, don't bring your horses into battle if they can get pushed around quickly by the enemy pawns. That's why when you watch like Game of Thrones and stuff, usually in the successful battles the cavalry chills and only enters later than to wrap up. While if you do it Dothraki style and you send them all into this army of undead pawns, they might not make it very long. And here h6, contrary to everything I just said, I believe you should have developed a knight. Probably he was now concerned that bishop g5 would ask more questions than this horse would be comfortable answering. But h6 seems to be losing too much time at this crucial early stage of the battle. And here after e4, b6, f4, the black position already feels a bit unpleasant due to his severe lack of development. f6 does not help his case, and after f takes e5, there would be an unpleasant little check coming in on the h5 square. And wow, I'm losing viewers by the minute. Matty Orsetto Benjamin Breek is saying, I hear Game of Thrones references, I leave. I did not know, Matty. Sorry, give me one more chance. No more Game of Thrones talk whatsoever. I promise. Please, don't go. Or mute me at least. You can watch Magnus still. I think that's a fair compromise to all of us involved. Gilbara is asking, is it possible one could quickly get Magnus into an unknown position? The problem is it doesn't matter so much. Most unknown positions are not great. Like, he won't know this position on the board, but he will know the one I have right here, but he will know that it's completely lost. So, since he's so superior in chess understanding and raw skills, getting him into an unknown position doesn't really matter. He won't need more than a second to produce a move in any of these positions. So you need such a high level of skill to actually produce a position in a Simul where he has to think seriously, that I don't think it's going to happen. The only guys that traditionally have a chance are the high-rated guys that I think we mentioned early in the program, like this Mr. Henrik Molvik, Jakob Abling Thompson, Luisa Fredericia, and Sven Hamann. Those will probably be the four boards where Magnus will have some trouble. Or at least there's a chance he might get into trouble. And from what I see on the lower boards, it does seem like there are many people who are more into hitting their milestones or into the energy business than into chess. Although, being fair to Jakob Krog, he's played perfectly reasonable so far. We have sort of a reverse Grunfeld. And after c4, rook to b8. This is actually a playable line. Queen a4. Now he had to defend both of his pawns. Went queen to d7. Magnus took a time and played a3 in order to stop knight to c3, rook to b4. And the black position doesn't look too bad, does it? Like bishop e7. The problem is after knight c3, there will be some unpleasant questions. You can't push this pawn forward because of bishop takes c6. And if you castle, white might very well just grab that pawn. Fab's music producer is saying, where is your Chess24 office located? We're very spread out, but I am in Hamburg, Germany. We also have the Spanish guys in Madrid. We have people in Copenhagen, actually. In Gibraltar, working on getting a French unit in Paris. So Chess24 is all over the place. But I'm in Hamburg, and this is from where we do most of our Chess24 streams, like the upcoming Norway chess stream with Peter Svidler. Svidler Boy will be coming to Hamburg, and we'll be doing commentary on that. And my friend Matty, who earlier left because of the Game of Thrones references, is back. That's great news. He's asking, will there be more videos of Sopiko and Anna for Chess24? How does it work? In general, there will certainly be more videos of Sopiko, who has just released a video series has just produced a video series that will be coming out these days on the 4F3 Nimzo. She also does Banter Blitz regularly on Chess24, and Anna also still has her show on Chess24. Anna's going to be doing the official commentary from Norway Chess, where I'm doing this show with Svidler. I think it's Anna Rudolph together with the legend Judith Polgar. So no, I think we're still on great terms with both of them, and Sopiko, as mentioned, just produced a video series, and I think has more or less a weekly, bi-weekly Banter Blitz show as well. Stalin, oh, that's rough username, is asking, is Magnus doing the Ramadan? I do not think so. RS10 is asking, is Magnus in Denmark? Yes, see, I speak fluent Danish. Er Magnus i Danmark? Alright, do we have any more exciting games going here? What's this position? This looks funny. Hang on, this is a good chess player. The name at least sounds very familiar. Or am I mixing it up? I don't think so. Thomas Schumold. Danish chess experts. Can you confirm? This guy, the name sounds very familiar, so I'm assuming he's a good player. Or is it another Schumold? Yeah, looks like a proper chess game thus far. Knight d4, knight takes e5, picking up a pawn. But Mr. Shu was not to be fooled and took on d5, discovered attack on this knight on e5. After knight takes d5, he will recapture it. Magnus will probably do some annoying things like bishop h6 with tempo, then develop his pieces very quickly. And Wadu Hekyam is asking, are these simuls taxing for someone at Magnus's caliber? Depends on your definition of taxing, and I'm not quite at Magnus's caliber, so I can't really say, but I've given a fair number of simuls. You get tired, not so much because you spend so much time thinking about these games, but first of all, this is gonna sound silly, but it's a lot of walking in a circle. Magnus is in great shape physically. And then it's a lot of like mentally switching from position to position. And normally, as you can see, he's moving very quickly. You don't really dedicate that much time to any position. It's normally a couple seconds. But this constant, switching your head around, like I usually or often get a headache during a simul a couple hours in. This one is scheduled to be a fast-paced one at just 2 hours. But yeah, a lot of my simuls have lasted like 3, 4, 5 hours, and there you do get very exhausted around hour 3 or 4. But in general, chess-wise, it's not that taxing. Mainly because, you don't really have that much time to study the positions and calculate anyway, so you normally operate on instincts. It's like allowing him to speak his language. I don't mean Norwegian, but the chess language. So it's, less of an intellectual achievement often and more, like a stamina/show thing. Michaela's asking, do you think Magnus would be able to recite all 25 games after? I would guess so, probably yes. Like sometimes it depends a bit if some opponents play too irrationally, which I haven't seen here yet. But if the moves do not fit your normal sort of pattern recognition, then it's kind of hard to recall what exactly went where and why. Also because in such a position, for example, he already kind of knows the game is over, so to keep track of exactly what went where if the moves aren't too logical could be a little tricky, but I think, especially if you told him before you will be quizzed about the 25 games afterwards, then he certainly could do it. If you don't give him a warning that that would happen, I'm not sure, but I still believe Magnus would probably be a favorite if you told him right after the games. Alright, reproduce all of these games, please. What else do we have? Sigrun Eggen. Some trouble. F7, traditionally the weakest square in the black camp, because it's only guarded by the king. It looks like the king will have to enter that very square already. So let's see what went wrong here. E4, B5. It's already a bit too adventurous. First of all, it's hanging a pawn, and secondly, you should do business in the center, not on the wings. Magnus took a6. It's not quite the Banco gambit because you don't really get anything in return for your pawn here. D4, H6. This seems to be a common beginner's mistake, that they play A6 and H6 very quickly. I'm not quite sure what that's about. It feels safe maybe, and it's guarding this square, but it's really not a priority in 95% of the openings. And having said all that, I am fully aware that Magnus has played this very line in recent tournament play. But you first have to know the rules, and then you can break them. Pulborta, is that the real Svidler? Is saying, tell that to Karpov, who will play A3 and H3 on every board and every Simul he has ever given. Is that a true thing? He's saying also, where's my sword? What kind of sword do you want? Do you want like a big sword, like Oathkeeper style? Or do you want a small needle sword? I don't think I have like sword handling power here. Even though I promise to you, if I did more Game of Thrones references, I might have lost my boy, Matteo Orsetto Benjamin Breek, for good now. I'm being told type /mod Pulborta. I type everything I'm told to type, but I'm not sure I have that power. Mod Pulborta. Let's see what happens. You don't have permission to perform that action. See? They don't allow me to do stuff here because I could break it. But if anybody important is watching, anybody with sword giving out clearance, please give Pulborta his sword. He wants a sword. Let's sort it out. Alright, this looks too much like a normal chess game, so we'll ignore it. Standard King's Indian, even sort of a theoretical debate or whatever. Nah. Same here, sharp position, black, qualified chess player. Not qualified enough to play e4, e5, but he did the next best thing, c5. And now that Magnus plays c5, knight c6 every game, I probably can't get away with saying that. And I'm joking, of course, it's the Najdorf, great opening. Knight c6, not the main move here, but a reasonable move. e6 or e5 or g6, more popular. White goes g4, e6, g5, pushing the horsey around. And now, even though white has lost the tempo compared to, let's say, the pure Keres attack, something along these lines, these positions, I believe, are still considered to be pleasant for white, which goes to show us how bad the Scheveningen really is. Wow. Pulborta subscribed at tier 1. Does that mean you're giving us money, Peter? I need... Peter's coming here, hopefully, soon during Norway Chess. I need someone to teach me all this Twitch lingo. And since Peter has been a Twitch inhabitant for many a year now, I hope he can explain all these faces to me. Like, what does LUL mean? Is that like LOL, but laughing utterly loud? Or what does it mean? And there, Magnus, he shook a hand. Is the game over? Did he checkmate someone? What happened? It's not this. This still seems like a tough battle ongoing. So where could it be? Do I have more of this stuff? I can't see the checkmate. Maybe someone resigned. Why would you resign? This looks like a favorite to resign, because a lot of pieces disappeared very early on. And I believe black's wrongdoings, I would even say, started here already. When knight takes d4, exchanged that brave knight for a measly pawn. And even all these central pawns could not make up for that fact. e5, knight b3, decent move. Now I would probably fight for the center with d5. Instead, Christian went for g5, which looks too aggressive and also is weakening some light squares. So yeah, I think there was some problems early on. f5 I like because it's coordinating the black pawns. The problem with f5 is often that you're weakening this h5, e8 diagonal. And Magnus, ruthless as he is trying to occupy that ASAP. He goes e4. And after the naive capture, queen h5 check is already pretty bad news, forcing this king onto an unexpected journey. Let's hope that with Hobbit references, I won't be upsetting Matteo Orsetto Benjamin Brieg again. Please give me a list of what stuff I can reference to and what I can't. King to d6, short castle, long castles check, king to c6, bishop, no, he didn't go bishop b5 check. What a fish. You're supposed to develop with tempo given the chance, but Magnus missed that. Took on d8, took the queen at least. And after d5, he went queen e8 check. Bishop d7, bishop b5 check. When it's not mate yet, you can continue struggling with king b6, but after queen d7, if we do a bit of a body count, we see that currently white still has most of his fighting units, except for these two pawns he sent to die on the battlefield early, while black is missing a queen, a bishop and a knight. So the material balance is not in black's favor here. And Matteo is saying only avoid Game of Thrones. That's good to know. Thanks, Matteo. And there's a question. Why are there so many randoms playing? It seems like they have just learned the rules and played. And then it's GM Pengo. Isn't GM Pengo the chess legend Penguin Grandmaster? Anyway, I would guess sometimes there's some corporate stuff going on, and I would guess that some companies got maybe some seats in the Simul for their Employee of the Month. I see a lot of Energi Denmark here. I see a lot of Milestone. And I see... that's mainly it. Some representatives from the Folkehuset Absalon. Danish viewers, what's the Folkehuset Absalon? Is that like the people's representation of the region of Absalon? I would like to know. Hang on, I need to do some techie stuff. Come on, Tech Jan, focus. Why do I have these 8,000 windows open here? That sounds wrong already. You go away. You go away. You go away. Maybe I don't have to say it for every window I close, right? Maybe I do. If I close this, will something bad happen? Let's find out. Nothing too bad happened. All right. Tech Jan making great progress here. This is some of my finest work. And I finally... oh, sorry. That's what you get for praising yourself, Tech Jan. But here we are. I finally fired up the Chess24 chat as well. What's happening, Chess24 chat? Boku Known is saying first two boards aren't moving. Sorry, someone give them a warning. Make a move. The rules of the Simul are typically that you are supposed to move once your mighty opponent appears at your board, which can be annoying as a Simul player because you're thinking about your complicated position and then some other of these putzers lost. So it takes only 2 minutes until the world champion completed his journey through the other boards and is already back there, and you have to make a move. So it can be a lot of pressure. Some kinder Simul givers sometimes allow their opponents to send them on, tell them, like, I need to think some more for, like, I don't know, 3 times per game. That's usually what I'm telling people. But Magnus on a tight schedule here. He has to be done at 8:30, which is in what, 50 minutes? And I really don't see it happening. I pointed that out because, you know, I have great influence over Magnus's event schedule. So I mentioned when I read this. You know what? I don't think he's going to be able to do it, to finish that Simul in like an hour and a half. But I was told it's a question of physical strength. And no one listened to me. It was heartbreaking. And as Naka fan 2016 is saying, GMs sometimes allow 3 free passes. The problem is you can't do that and then expect to finish within our 90-minute time frame. FeederTrainer.net seems unhappy to not be there. He's saying, I've played Obling. Sorry for mispronouncing all these Danish double A's and E's. Your 17 different pronunciation of E should be forbidden by law, by the way. But how he would land a spot in this, maybe rich dad, poor dad. What's rich dad, poor dad mean? And I'm being told, Jan, show us this Makaganov kid. Where he at? Is that a participant in the Simul? I don't see any names that sound anything like Makaganov or Mahagoni at all. All I see is Molvik, Hamann, Oblik Thompson. Those are still completely normal chess positions, just getting started. Luisa Fredericia, I would say, is worse because I'm not a big fan of the Marocci, but it's also still a very standard setup. A5, 97, going for that square. And then the positions get a little freakier as we move down the list. Like here, this was the game where knight takes e5 was met by knight a5, which I do not approve of at all. Knight on the rim, pawn down, white occupies the center. You can't do that kind of stuff. Continues with bishop b4, bishop d3, d6, queen a4 check. Also typical theme, especially in Simuls. This bishop can sometimes be vulnerable to an early queen a4 check. And that's what happened here. But I think the world champion, maybe he thought, because of his opponent's prior play, that Sarah would be a pushover. And he went d takes e5 here. Maybe forgetting that the bishop on d3 was hanging? Maybe he did forget it. I'm not sure. Sometimes he doesn't forget such things. And after c5, queen takes c5. Queen takes d3. Boom! Big comeback for black. After ef6, she's still a couple pawns down. But I think the position has improved. Knight takes c4. Still a bit grim, actually, because of queen e7 checkmate or knight to d5. So yeah, not great. Fab's music producer is saying, mods, stop banning everyone. Free speech. Is that how the internet works? I thought you have mods on your channel so they can ban anyone because it's your channel and not free speech at all. Anyway, this is the Simul, which is the start to tonight's festivities and the match against Jonas Bjerre, the great hope of Danish chess, now that Peter Heine is a very old man. We'll start at 21:45. I frankly only agreed to do the match at 21:45. But since I don't have a life, I thought I'm here. Might as well talk some nonsense about the Simul. What's not to like? He's about 2500 rated, Jonas Buhl, and I believe only 14 years old. And I can only speak for myself, but when I was 14 years old, I was not 2500 rated, and I was very concerned with Marshall Bravestar, Saber Rider, and the Star Sheriffs. That's a lie, probably. And Corrado BS is saying, I check Paul Borta's Twitch and YouTube page daily. Can't wait for him to become a full-time streamer. That's rude, Corrado BS. You want Peter to retire? Jungle Rundle is saying, go to Oblake Thompson game. Alright, I'm here. Nothing happened. We'll go to some other game. How's Mr. Leiboschitz, Leonard Leiboschitz, representing the Folkehuset? I still don't know what that means. Doing today. Hawaii Pan Pizza is saying, I would ban everyone who is against pineapple on pizza. We can't be friends, Hawaii Pan Pizza. There's something deeply unnatural about Hawaii pizza. I'm not even a fan of pineapple as it is. I think it's an overrated, weirdly sticky, too sweet fruit. But to put on pizza is just plain wrong. So, I don't know. I would think it's probably an overreaction on my part to tell our moderators to ban you for that comment instantly. But I would certainly advise them to watch you very closely. With that username and such opinions, who knows what other kinky stuff you're up to. Sorry, you know it is hard to host these things. This game, is this game over? This looks like a resignable position to me. True Smug is asking, Jan, do you think you could beat Magnus in arm wrestling? I'm not sure. Frankly, I've been a bit lazy going to the gym recently. At some point, like half a year ago, before Magnus was, or let's say 9 months ago, before Magnus was trying to get in shape for the match, I do believe I had thicker arms than him. So I might have had a chance back then. Right now I'm probably an underdog. And also he has this thing called like willpower and also determination to crush people. While I'm just an old, washed up, peace-loving dude. So I think he would have the mental edge. For sure. Probably also the physical edge. So no. But I will make it my life's mission to get bigger arms. Then Mr. Magnus again. Sophie221 is asking, are you the only broadcaster of this event? I don't know. There's an official an official Danish show, which is on what's called Dansk Union. So there's that. That's probably the official broadcast, because frankly I decided to broadcast this very event around 3 minutes to 7 and it started at 7. Therefore, I'm sorry. Ellen Z is saying, pretty sure, but Jan never reads. What are we talking about? I read even what you're saying. Ellen Z is saying, Folkehus is a social house that has events and dinners. And it doesn't mean the people's house. Folke does not mean the people? Das Volk? Anyway, thanks a lot for the clarification. So the people from the Folkehuset, they're playing in this event? Are they the ones hosting the events and dinners? How does this stuff work? Peter Nell is saying, you actually have about 1,000 viewers on YouTube as well, Jan. You're making me self-conscious. I just switched this on to talk some nonsense. While now, with these literally thousands of people watching, I feel I should say something useful like every half hour. Alright, let me try. In the game against Eirik Erstad, Magnus Carlsen has a grip on the dark squares. And it looks like Erstad maybe put too many pawns on light squares. Let's see how these events transpired. E4, E6, so far so good. D4, yeah, the main was D5. But Erstad already played G6, and we can already see the first cracks in Black's dark square armor. Now this square on F6 could be a little weak. Therefore you typically don't combine E6 and G6. If you want to go G6, more often than not you combine it with D6. So you keep all these squares protected by pawns. So H4, H5, we see the next dark square getting weakened. Knight C3, Knight C6, Knight F3, D5. The theme continues. Bishop F4, and Magnus is going after those squares, also sneakily threatening Knight to B5. He was probably hoping for Bishop G7, Knight B5. But it didn't happen. D4 was played, Knight E4. And once again, F5 giving up on these dark squares. Eirik Erstad. Chess is not all black and white, but you can't completely neglect those black squares either. And we get more knowledge dropped on the Folkehuset. Folkehuset is a place people can come and do activities like concerts, movies and things like that. There's also food there. And yes, it does mean the people's house. There we go. My household is 2/3 Norwegian, so I feel like words like Folkehuset I can't pronounce, but I can figure out the meaning. Anyway, where is that magical place? Maybe I can go there and make some friends. Because I never go anywhere. So I was ranting about the weak dark squares here. 95 will be coming, and then the wrapping up will be on its way. What else do we have? What happened here? d4, d6, e4, knight f6, bishop g4. A bit daring. It takes the queen, that's the good news. But f3 is not a move that really hurts white in these positions. He can adjust his setup to fitting in f3, making it just an extra tempo. And the bishop on d7 is also not very well placed. So I do not approve of this move, bishop g4. It's better after something like this, when it actually pins the knight. But that was a bit premature. Bishop d7, e5, Carlsen trying to ask questions quickly. And c5 also seems to be a bit of an overreaction. And Mar HSX is asking, is Jan's husband Norwegian? Wow, that's clever. Are you trying to gay shame me? That's brilliant. No, my girlfriend, actually I'm not married technically, and my daughter are Norwegian. But in general, to use like the implication of someone being gay as an insult in 2019, I find it a bit weak. So c5, bit of a mistake, because it drops the knight. And we've seen this theme early on, that often the black players' knights get into trouble with these Carlsen-esque pawns here, launching up the board and then eating them. And if you do the math, the knight is typically worth like 3 bowls of ice cream in my book. You could argue about 3 or 3.25. But it's worth more than a pawn. So after e5, c5, and Mar HX SX is saying I'm gay myself. Okay, fair enough. Pulbarta is saying this chat is moving so fast. Nobody will notice me agreeing with Jan. Nah, I'll read out everything you say, Peter, because whether you guys believe it or not, Pulbarta in the Twitch chat is Super Grandmaster Peter Svidler himself. Even though I probably missed the last 15 things he said. But yeah. Thank you so much, Peter. EFGF DC DC. Bishop e3, knight a6. This move, well, it has a plan, it covers the pawn. But it, first of all, it violates our knight on the rim is dim rule. And secondly, it violates our bowls of ice cream rules, because let's say the knight is 3.25. Bishop is 3.50. You could argue about the count, but more or less. Pawn is 1. So after knight a6, we can do a little math here. Bishop takes a6. We're trading a 3.50 for a 3.25. B takes a6. You could argue this pawn loses his full 1 strength to like 0.80 strength by becoming double a pawn. So let's call this trade even, bishop a6, b a6. But now, there's bishop takes c5. When currently the exchange was 3.50 versus 3.45. Now it has become 3.50 versus 4.45. Because this was a full strength pawn here that bites the dust. And therefore, that was a bad transaction for black. Magnus missed that opportunity. Did not see he could take the pawn. And went queen d2, followed by long castles. And after knight to b4, maybe he had a point, because he thought, I can get more for that horsey. I don't have to give my bishop. I will only have to give up a little pawn. And after bishop c5. Ole Angelsen could not resist the temptation to give a check, but captured it was, and after knight takes a2, this was a 3-15 to 1 deal, while Magnus also picked up another pawn here. So things are looking good for the world champion in this game. Speaking of things looking good, in the game against Björn Rustad, we see the Scandinavian opening. No one in the world, except for John Bartholomew, likes the Scandinavian, but typically people try to regain that pawn with queen takes d5 or knight to f6, while in this game it was converted into pure gambit with pawn to c6, which I find optimistic, because here after d takes c, knight takes c6, we can do some more calculating. They say normally a pawn should be worth like 3 tempi in the opening. Here if we count tempi, I only count 1. Horsey get out. Now if you already a pawn here, maybe, but like this, it's not great. And Björn Rustad made things even worse by going b takes c6. Should have taken with the knight at least. d4, f6, also not ideal, weakening the king a bit, making it harder for the other knight to enter the game. We can see both black knights now in trouble. Bishop c4, e6, that's a good move, covering this diagonal. Knight to f3, f5. Also don't move pawns twice in the opening, unless you have to. Even though here, it makes some sense to create a square for the knight on f6. Castles, knight to f6, rook to e1, attacking this poor pawn. Queen to d7, kind of defends the pawn, but once again we can do a little math here. Queen is like 9 points or 10 points, depending on your count, your definition. Let's go with 9 for this. Pawn is 1 point. Then bishop is 3.5, rook is 5. So that makes those guys together worth like 3.5 plus 5, what could be? Let's say 8.5. While here we have 1 plus 9, so that's 10 together. Therefore, if we exchange all these units for each other, then in the process, 10 minus 8.5, white would have won 1.5 units. Therefore, not a good trade. And Björn Rustad probably came to that conclusion as well and moved his queen away. But now things get even worse because the bishop gets taken. He tells the guy on c8, listen to me very carefully. You will be taken. And then he takes king to d8. Here Magnus plays bishop takes f5. Me personally, I value rooks higher, so I probably would have gone after this rook with bishop b7. But bishop takes f5 does not really decrease the white advantage after knight to e5. His position is still much, much better. Tipsy Toon is asking, is that Peter Svidler in the chat? It is. Maybe I scared him away by outing him, but I don't think so. What's up, Chess24 chat? I didn't forget about you guys. Jawbreaker says LOL. Boom. On Chess24 they say LOL, not this weird LUL. Alright, shall we have a look at some other game? Which one looks interesting? This looks interesting. Doesn't look good for black, but interesting. How did we get here? I was another one of knights running into trouble with enemy pawns early on situation. Knight is under attack again. Knight h6 defends the guy, but curiously Magnus goes e5, threatening h3. I think I would have preferred h3 here. Knight to f6 and now e5, just, you know, to keep the chase theme going. But probably he didn't want knight e4, knight g3. Therefore he decided to block the retreat, isolate the knight, cut off supplies. And after d6, his plan came to fruition here by h3. And as you can see, the knight has no square. All these squares are occupied by white pieces, forces. Therefore it's trapped. f5, I think the best chance was probably d5, at least grab some pawns. Because d, e, h, g, knight g4, at least it's a 3-15 to 2 trade. Well, f5, h, g4, this is just a 1 to 3-15 trade. And Shaba is saying, lul is a bad word in Dutch. You don't have to tell me. Godverdomme. Oh, CP Counter is gonna block me again if I keep cursing in Dutch. There we go. CP Counter is telling me, Jan, behave. I am deeply sorry. No more cursing in Dutch. CP Counter saying that is not nice. That is not nice. Kids are watching. What does that mean? Bad kids are watching? They probably know these words already. And our other moderator is Mr. Dodgy Chess is telling me, Jan, don't behave. Now I'm getting very confused, guys. I'm getting mixed messages here. Which one is it? More cursing in Dutch? Less cursing in Dutch? More cursing in French? I don't know what to do. Too many cooks. But anyway, I don't know what this lul, lol, lul, lullaby situation is. So LUL is what we say on Twitch for laughing out loud, right? LOL is what we say elsewhere. Probably that's what Magnus just told the guy whose hand he shook. Who's celebrating? Did he agree to a draw? I think he's on a mission now to end the whole thing at 8:30, so he's gonna offer like 15 draws in a row. Magnus don't work overtime. CP Counter is saying, there's 2 IMs. CP Counter saying, never curse online, commenting the world champion. But he curses a lot. Like even on camera. And to me, he's a role model because he is the world champion of chess. So what am I supposed to do with that? With that conflicting info, CP Counter? I don't know. Mr. Dodgy, what say you? This is all very confusing. In general, you might have noticed, I don't curse very much. And if I do, only in languages that no one speaks anyway, because who's able to learn Dutch in the first place? Scheveningen, grote, swamra, schotel. Like, you will severely hurt your throat while trying. Therefore, I think we're safe cursing a bit in Dutch, CP Counter. You can do it too. Pieter Nel is saying, een man van cultuur spreekt Nederlands. Ja, weet ik veel. And CP Counter is saying, 17.5 million people speak Dutch, plus Suriname. And Antilles. How do you do all these throaty sounds? Like, Drawbreaker is saying, half the C24 users are Dutch. Ned Blind is saying, I think you should listen to Peter Jan. Curse in English so everybody can understand. No, but the problem is, this is a PG-13 show. This is my definition. And a PG-13 show, you only get 1 fuck per show. And now I just used it, pointing out that very rule, so I won't be allowed to curse anymore in English. It's as simple as that. So, no more cursing. Back to chess. After d4, e6, e4, d5. In this game, I criticize the move c takes d4. Because it allows the knight to come to the c3 square. Queen b6, knight c3. And we see the tactical justification. The knight d4, queen d4 runs into bishop b5 check, picking up the queen. And therefore, you can't take the pawn. And then if you can't take the pawn, your whole conception early on has sort of failed. Knight e7, castles, knight to g6, knight to a4. Just, harassing the queen a little. Queen c7, bishop e3. Played in the spirit of Nimzovich, overprotecting our d4 pawn. Nothing you want to overprotect this guy though. b5, knight to c3, and white is much better. He has a lot of potential to attack on the king side. Black only weakened himself on the queen side without achieving anything. Rook c1, there's already knight b5 ideas looming. So this is a pretty bad situation for black. The good news is though, that the end of the Simul is already close and it's only 12 moves made without black losing any material. So his chances to get the draw, if we need to wrap up proceedings, are pretty good. Shaba is complaining. Wow, so elitist, Shaba. Mr. University, Mr. I know science stuff, saying back to chess, so why are we looking at the games of 1100s? I do not discriminate. 1100s are my friends. I lost to 1400 in Bantamblitz the other day. And I believe there's something for all of us to be learned from all these games. If only it is the value of pieces. Tipsy Toon is asking, is there a rating limit for the participants in the Simul? I don't think so, because we have a bunch of IMs over here, or 2300 rated players. So I think these first 4 boards, this is like the serious chess challenge. And maybe Magnus said, I do not know about that. Okay, don't have them all like chess world champions. Give me some executives, some guys with the suits that I can take horses from. Speaking of the tougher games, what happened in this one against Sven Hamann? There's a fair question why we don't get moves in some of the lower rated games. I'm not sure about that. Might be an FTP, DGT, WTF situation. But I'm sure we'll get an update eventually. I want to figure out what happened here. We had this sort of reasonable standard Sicilian, which I mentioned earlier. I think it's considered to be better for white because he's a bit faster. A3, nowadays a very typical move to slow down the black counterplay by playing b4 here. And after rook a8, rook g1, black is not really threatening anything. He's trying to bring his knight over, but the white play on the king side is pretty fast already with f6 coming. Yeah, or g6 coming, as we see in the game. See, I'm able to adjust my commentary to whatever next move the world champion makes. Queen h6, bishop f8, bishop takes b6, queen b6, f6, queen takes g1, bishop c4 check. Some tactics here. He won a queen for rook and bishop, and to make matters worse, after rook g1, rook takes c3. This sort of accelerates the end, but black's position was pretty bad. Rook c7, covering g7 looks like the only move. That should be lost either way. But rook c3, rook g7 is mate next move, according to my calculations. Bishop g7, queen g7, checkmate. And king h8, queen h7, also checkmate. Mr. Dodgy Chess is asking, how do you think Magnus would do in a Kasparov-style Simul versus GMs? I think players of the level of Magnus and Kasparov back in the day are huge favorites against a team of 4 GMs in, like, whatever, 2600 GMs. My level on a 4-board thing with clocks, I believe the stronger player is always a big favorite in these situations. So I think he would crush. You've seen him play Blitz. You think if he has like half an hour to spend on a game versus someone like me who has 2 hours, you think he's not a huge favorite? I think it's a giant favorite. I'm being told to go to this game, correct? Our boy, Jakob Orbling Thompson. Yeah, this looked all very standard. Nothing much happened. G5 slightly weakening the dark squares, but it followed up with knight h5. It's a typical device in these positions as well. And it is followed by knight h5. Yeah, black clearly knows how to play chess here. Rook fd1, knight f4, queen f1, rook fb8, defending the pawn, b4, knight to d8, regrouping this guy, knight b3, knight d6, and yeah, this could very easily just be a Grandmaster game. h4, ba4, going after the bait. I'm not sure about that move, but it also prepares bishop b5, some dynamic chances maybe. So interesting business, bishop b5, king, c4, queen takes b4, grabbing another pawn. Black currently 2 pawns up, but some weaknesses, and after cb5, queen a5, one of these pawns will probably be recaptured, if not both. Bishop takes a4 was played, a takes b, bishop takes b5. Little tactic from the world champion here. His point being that after queen takes b5, queen takes b5, you cannot really take, since rook takes b5, rook takes a8 check. It's sort of good. Kareken is asking, Jan, will Niels Grandelius play any Banter Blitz sometime? We'd love him to. Niels, if you're watching, anytime you want to do Banter Blitz, you're very welcome. The problem is Niels might, at this point, be too big for Chess 24. He's Mr. European Vice Champion. He's pretty much in control of all Scandinavian chess, Danish chess, Swedish chess, Norwegian chess in the Magnus Carlsen training staff, approaching 2,700. So I'm not sure if we can afford Niels, but of course we'd love to have him. So bishop takes b5. Black did not fall for this queen takes b5 business. Went queen b4. Rook takes a8. Rook takes a8. Pulborta is saying, what does that say about me? Sorry, Peter, I meant no insult to you. There was a bit of an inside joke regarding Niels being the godfather of Scandinavian chess, which he is. Ask Peter Heine. So yeah, I was trying to figure out what's happening in this position. I don't know. Let me count the pawns after HG. According to my count, black has 4 pawns and white has 3. So that's good for black. Then according to my count, white has 2 bishops, black only has 1. So that's good for white. There's also some weaknesses around the black king. So using all my grandmasterly adding up skills, I would say this is roughly equal. I don't think white is better actually. Knight d4 or c5, knight d4. The rook is active. And now it looks decent for black. But yeah, my hunch would be raw equality. And Jungle Wundle is saying Obling is about 2400. That's a very serious level to face in a Simul, because as mentioned, yeah, there's not much time to spend on these games. For me, okay, I struggle very differently in Simuls, but normally it was like a 30 player Simul, and there are some guys that are like 2300 plus. I'm normally a bit of an underdog in these games. Like if they're 2200, I feel, if I know at least, that I might still be a small favorite. But 2300 is very tough. And of course Magnus is better than me. But 2400 I think in a Simul is very hard to deal with if you have no thinking time. Of course these things change a bit sometimes if the Simul progresses and there's only like 5 games left. Because then his advantage in thinking time, that it takes you whatever 3 minutes to do a round, slowly disappears. Because if you only have 5 games left, it will only take you 1 minute to come back to the board. And he doesn't have as much time to think. So against the strong guys, often you're just trying to hang in there without completely ruining your position until some of the weaker guys lost. And then you can put more pressure on them because they no longer have a lot of time to think. If that makes sense. Luisa Fredericia here is in some trouble. The Danish international. I'm trying to count the material, but I did count that this knight is dropping. And once it drops, white at the very least will have bishop and knight versus a rook in a winning position. So yeah, that's what happened. King h6, queen e6. Not over yet, but it will be over eventually. Although the pure body count might indicate equality here, like 5, 350, 350. And black has an extra pawn, so it's not that much, but there's more pawns dropping. Black's very passive. So it's a fairly hopeless position. Shaba is asking, is it confusing for Magnus, for Carlsen, to play with 4 pieces up on one board and versus an IM on another board? To adjust and turn on off his brain accordingly. I think by now it's fine. Normally, early on in the Simul, you try to figure out who the strong players are so that you pay more attention there, because in the board where you have 4 pieces up, you normally don't have to make the very best moves to win the game. So you sort of try to figure out early on, or maybe he was told in advance, where the strong opponents are sitting, so you can give a little extra effort there. Here against Leonard Leiboschitz, rook c6 looks like an unpleasant move to face, hitting the bishop on a6 and the pawn on e6. But as I was telling them, it's 2014. There's still a lot of games going. I do not see this peacefully resolved at 8:30, unless Magnus just agrees to draws with everyone who has not resigned yet at 8:30. And there he's talking people into resignation, saying, your position no longer warrants putting up a fight. You are disrespecting me as a person, as a man and as chess world champion if you continue moving your pieces around here. Please resign at this very moment, sir. And his opponent said, and no, I'm not even a pawn down, but if you say so, all right. People are quoting, wow. Great minds think alike. Mr. Dodgy Chess and Pulberta are both saying, do you speak English? Quoting the famous Viktor Korchnoi line, who once said, I believe to Mohammed Al-Modiaki, in a position where he was slightly better, at least that's the story. Do you speak English? His opponent replied, yes. And Korchnoi said, why don't you resign? And I'm being told every 8 seconds to switch to the game of Aubling Thompson. We just were there. Bishop c4, queen b2, king h1. Looks like Aubling Thompson has a lot of lobbyists out there, making sure we don't look at any other games. And I will give in to these lobbyists. I'm not much of a fighter. You tell me to do stuff. Boom, there I am. Jakob Aubling Thompson. Rating 2358. I know him actually. I think I know what he looks like. Is that him? Capablanca is saying, hey, I had an important question. Why don't you answer me? Why you don't answer me? Could you please repeat your important question, Capablanca, with a K, so I can answer it? Because you know, it's a lot of information to keep track of. It's the Aubling Thompson game, the Twitch chat, the Shabba chat on Chess24. A lot of drama. So what's going on in this position? Is he losing? I think it's still all to play for. Knight h2 coming to g4. Nah, it's fine. I'm sure your engine masters will be saying whatever. Minus one, but that's not enough to like say this is losing for the world champion. I don't see any direct tricks. Knight g4 is coming, knight e3, there's squares. He'll be fine. Milos Krstic is asking, Capablanca, how many players are in this? There were 25 players at the beginning, but frankly, they're falling like flies, or drawing like flies, if flies could draw. So at this point I would say, we still have, I don't know, actually more left than I thought. 17, 18 left. Here, for example, Marcus Stromstedt Haraldsen from Nordic Bet should have taken more care of his king because it got surrounded. All the squares were taken. And it had no Arya Stark. Apologies to, I don't know, put a dagger into the white king's ribs before it gets captured here. Mar HSX is asking, is Carlsen given information about Aubling's rating beforehand? I would guess he knows. His coach Peter Heine, of course, is Danish, and also Scandinavia. After I've been told it, I might as well offend Scandinavia as well. It's a village. All the chess players are aware of each other. So I do believe that Magnus knew who Mr. Aubling Thompson was beforehand. I'm not sure if he knows he's 2358 or maybe he thought he's 2359. Somewhere in that neighborhood. But I think he's aware it's an international master and a good player. Tiki Taki is saying they're all weaker than Magnus Carlsen. That's a fair bet. I would even go as far and argue that everyone on this very planet of ours is weaker in chess than Magnus Carlsen. I don't think that's too hot to take nowadays. Henrik Molvik. What's going on here? Ah, he's a piece down. Okay, he's lost the a-pawn. We'll get the job done. This was lost as well, as mentioned. So maybe it just comes down to Carlsen Aubling. The Naked Singularity is saying, okay, I'm rooting for the pink shirt girl. She alone can slay the dragon. Where's she at? Let's find out. Her? What's her name? Someone tell me. Sarah? We had a Sarah game earlier. Where was it? It's not Ingrid Hallstein, because Ingrid is not Sarah. I know my first names. We have Sigrun. I can't find Sarah's game. Sarah lost on board 5. Being told. Was that it? Ah, but is that Sarah? Looks like that girl is still making moves, no? Ah, she lost already. Okay. Then sorry. We are off your bandwagon. She was rearranging the pieces. I gotcha. Shaba is asking, does this work like Game of Thrones? If Magnus checkmates the Night King, they all lose. Sorry Shaba, I earlier agreed to no more Game of Thrones references. I've broken that agreement 3-4 times, unlike the Golden Company, but I will not get into that topic. Mark Leleo is saying, Jan, does tournaments have any countermeasure for Wi-Fi Bluetooth earbuds that goes in the ear completely? Well, on the other side is a friend with stockfish or similar tactics. First of all, I think that's what I've been doing wrong, because I've been trying to have my friend with earbuds with stockfish connected to these things, but people have continuously busted me. I thought they go into the ear completely. They're in ear, but somehow, whenever I play a tournament, boom, they catch me instantly. So I have to work on that, I'm guessing. Secondly, it depends on the tournament. Like official events, you often have some metal detectors. At super tournaments, I would guess normally the level of trust is so high that none of these super players cheat. And in general, it's possible to cheat. Like, you can't have big controls at every open tournament, at every event. And technology is far enough advanced. We will probably find out or have a very strong suspicion, because if you're around chess long enough, you can sort of tell, but you never know how many uncaught cheaters are there. And it just destroys the game of chess. So you sort of have to rely on this honor code that nobody's cheating, because it's hard to have proper controls everywhere. But yeah, I don't think the problem has gotten out of hand yet completely. But there are, once in a while, stories published about cheaters being caught. And of course, not every cheater does get caught. So you can only hope that people understand that they are really destroying the image of the game that we're all playing. And often their livelihood as well. By doing so, me personally, I'm in favor of very, very harsh punishments in chess for cheating. Like at least 10-year bans or something, because it does hurt the game so much. I would differentiate a bit between online cheating, where, well, it happens more commonly, obviously. I'm not in favor of that either, but I still find it different if you cheat, whatever, in a Blitz game than in a tournament game. Especially if you're a Grandmaster, but really if you're anybody, if you cheat in a tournament game. In my opinion, you have nothing. You have no place on the chessboard. The Naked Singularity is asking, Jan, do you know when is Carlsen's next classic tournament? I do know that. It's Norway Chess, starting June 4th. I will be doing commentary on that tournament with a gentleman named Pulberta, aka Peter Svidler, aka 8-time Russian champion, aka... No, those are all his AKAs. PBS. On Chess24, it's a show for premium users only, but I'm very much looking forward to it. It's Magnus Carlsen and pretty much all of the top 10, except for Anish Giri. And they not only play tournament chess, but if the game ends in a draw, they play a little Armageddon tiebreaker to determine the winner. So it will be action-packed and hopefully a lot of fun. But you have to be a Chess24 Premium member to follow our very wise commentary. So if you want to come hang out with Peter Svidler, who will, unlike me, be providing a lot of sensible chess commentary, then yeah, check out chess24.com/premium. Monthly account, if you want to check it out, costs like $9.99. And then, hopefully, we can all have great Norway chess time together. Well, you can also watch all the video series where we sometimes do drop some chess knowledge and partake in all the banter blitzes. Magnus, yeah, he's been doing some, he's had a very tight schedule now with the Grand Chess Tour, with his travels, the Scotland thing, the Norway chess thing. But of course, we're very aware of the fact that Magnus has been a reasonably popular banter blitzer. Bit of a surprise. We thought, okay, he can be good, but can he really reach these banter blitz heights that people would like his banter blitz as much as my banter blitz? I don't think so personally, but turns out I was wrong. So we will probably be trying to get him to do a new banter blitz in the very near future as well. Full J saying, LOL, Jan is jealous. Full J has a perfect irony detector. I can't fool him at all. What do Hikam is saying? Jan, chess, please. Alright, shall we go to the Arlingtons again? Things have simplified. And now, if anybody's in the driver's seat, it's Mr. Magnus. Because now it's 3 pawns versus 3 pawns. And white has his f5 square. So yeah, this all of a sudden looks fairly grim for Aubling Thompson. Queen f3, knight f5, no, he's just gonna lose. So Luisa Fredericia lost as well on board 4. That means that out of the first 4 boards, which I think were the highest qualified chess players, 2 have already lost. Henrik Molvik is a piece down and will eventually lose because the 8 pawn is going to queen. Not that way, but this way. And the great white hope, Jakob Aubling Thompson, will now also lose the game, I'm afraid to say. Jungle Rambler saying there's also an FM and IM. Yeah, those are these guys, right? Mr. Anno Molvik is a CM. I think Hamann, according to my calculations, was the FM or IM. I could be wrong. Please let me know. And Aubling Thompson, we know, is an international master of chess. So today's schedule is after the Simul, which was supposed to end at 8:30. And people are clapping, so maybe Magnus just said, okay, you're resigned now, because I don't have time to hang out anymore. Anyway, it was supposed to end at 8:30. Then I think they have a little get-together, meet and greet, because Magnus likes these big social gatherings where people can ask him questions about how to improve in chess, his private life, stuff like that. He's really into that. So I think they'll have that for half an hour. And then at 9, there will be an interview in the language of English, where I'll put it up on the screen and then get the F out of here. And then at 9:45, there will be his rapid match against Jonas Bjerre, which I have to study the time control. But I would guess if there's no odds given, that then Magnus is a favorite. No disrespect to Mr. Bjerre, he's one of the most talented players to come out of Scandinavia, maybe since Carlsen. That's probably disrespect to Niels. Or to Hammer. I don't know. Anyway, he's a talented 14-year-old 2500 player. And yeah, it has been compared to Magnus meeting Garry Kasparov at age 13. And since we have a lot of clapping over there, let's go to this 320p resolution and try to figure out if this is just 1 pixel or really the whole head. Still moves being made. Jenna Bella is asking, is this a replay? Nah, not really. It's pretty live. JRVDWJR is saying, makes me want to fire up the VHS. Yeah, you remember these days when you'd like to rewind your VHS tape for an hour before you returned it to the video store? Those were the good old days. Jack to the Max, sorry for mispronouncing, is asking, what happens to his rating? I'm very surprised CP Carter didn't ban you with that username. What happens to his rating if he doesn't win them all? Nothing. Simuls are typically not rated. The Bear from Ukraine is saying, time control for the Armageddon game. White has 10 minutes and black has 7 minutes with an increment of 3 seconds per move, starting from move 61. That, I'm guessing, is in Norway chess, not for today's rapid match against Jonas Buhl Bjerre. Here, in the meantime, in the game of the day, Carlsen enabling Thompson, Magnus is now winning because there's f7 issues and a bit. Yeah, this is resigns king g7, I would guess. Just knight takes f7. Then the king is in a bit of a pickle. And yeah, maybe it happened a bit what I mentioned earlier, that often it's easier for the player in the Simul, even if he's a very strong player, to put pressure early on, because then he has like 3, 4, 5 minutes per move to think. While later, once some other games are over, the thinking time often goes down to 1 minute while the position gets more complicated. So that's what happened here. Magnus, yeah, was in some trouble maybe early on, but then turned the game around. And here, playing on pure reflexes, he is superior to most players in the world. Fury Arian is saying, one of my co-workers played Magnus in Hamburg. He was bragging about it 24/7 for a week. Flawjay saying, Fury Arian, now you know how Jan's Chess24 co-workers felt after Jan helped in the kayaking match. And the Caruana match. But no, that's not true, Flawjay, because you can ask anybody. I don't talk to anybody in the office. Sad but true. Magnus, doing a lot of talking today. And a lot of checkmating, like here. Victor Harmark Nielsen. Got his king trapped in the corner. I need a coffee. This is an empty coffee mug. It's not the same thing. Tyrone Forster saying, wrong, I heard no one talks to you. Sorry, I had to troll. But isn't that the natural situation? I'm not a sociopath. Like, if people would talk to me, I would answer. And probably vice versa when it comes to my coworkers. So often not talking to anybody also means they're not talking to you, right? I think it's just a mutual understanding. You got anything? Nah, I got nothing either. All right, let's not talk. All right, what else we have? Here, Lee Lauritsen is also breathing his last breath. Not literally, because the e-pawn is gonna cost at least the rook. Or you could choose to get checkmated after, let's say, okay, it didn't happen, but let's say here, king c7. If you go after the e-pawn, your king will have no escape. But if you don't go after the e-pawn will have a sex change on e8. Here we have some more picturesque mates where Magnus did a pretty efficient job of taking as many pieces as he could within 25 moves and then checkmating the king. There's nowhere to go. All of these squares are occupied. Shaba is asking also why it is so quiet here. Yeah, what's happening in the Chess24 chat? Where are you guys at? Drawbreaker saying Jan should write a book on leadership. That's an excellent idea. Wadu Hikyama is saying Michelle Obama hosting the event. Wow. I'm not sure. That's not Michelle Obama. I went to Oslo recently to see Bill Burr's stand-up act. He can sue me, because I'm sure he's watching, if I talked about contents of his act. Am I allowed to do that? Anyway, he had a piece on Michelle Obama, which made me think. I like Michelle Obama, but he made a compelling case. I'm not sure if it was serious, because it was probably comedy, but it was interesting. Bear from Ukraine is asking, Magnus won all of the games, right? I think they had to end the thing, so maybe some people were talked into resigning. But from what I can see here, we can briefly click through it. He won this. He won this. He won against Oblig Thompson. Won against Luisa Fredericia. This is the checkmate against the lady in pink. This one, he's a piece up, so he won as well. This is checkmate. This was the choice between Scylla and Charybdis, rook a3 or e8 queen. So he won that. This one looks a bit like a, what's it called? Smothered mate? German we call it Schäfermatt situation. I should probably learn what that's called. This is also checkmate. Yeah, so far it looks like he had no mercy. Strange, I never figured him for a guy who wants to win at stuff he does. Maybe I was wrong. More checkmates. Another checkmate. F7. I'm telling you guys, it's the weakest of all the squares. C7. Telling you guys, it's the second weakest of all the squares. B7. Telling you guys. Third weakest. Nah, it's not that weak. Anyway, from my brief results confirming, it does look like Magnus won all the games. Sometimes, some people feel like they should maybe make a draw or two in these simuls to also please sponsors, the corporate lords. But the real big champion, they normally want to crush everybody. All the time. His famous Korshner quote is when he was told he should make a draw against Che Guevara. He said, nah. I crushed him. He has no clue about how to play the Catalan. Grissaman is asking, will there be the interview on this stream? Yeah, that's the plan. I'm not quite sure. I think there's now a little break and, I don't know, drinking, pictures taken, networking. And then at 9 it's the interview. Then at 9:45 it's the match of matches between Mr. Jonas Bjerre and world champion Magnus Carlsen. So I'm not quite sure how we're gonna play it. I would guess I will leave this thing running. Sorry for the 320 piece. And then, I don't know, maybe I'll come back to heckle the interview. Nah, that sounds wrong. We should watch the interview. I'll try to figure out if we can switch on the sound for that. And then at 9:45 I'll be doing the commentary on the Rapid. Because who needs a life, really? Who needs to ever go home to their families? It's not like I already did commentary on the FIDE Grand Prix today. I did. I was in German, so no one watched it. What is this? This is it? Vi håller en kort pause? That's what it says on my stream. And my Danish is not perfect, but it's good enough to figure out that this means we are holding a short break. But you can play more chess on altomskak.dk. You can also play more chess on chess24.com while we're doing plugs. So, what can I tell you guys? Not much, really. Michal Palitska is saying, Jan, do some banter blitz now. Dance, monkey. I'm tired. I'll go on a little break now. Maybe I'll play some games after that, or I'll figure out what is happening in that lovely stream that we get from over there. So yeah, I'll be back in a couple minutes. In the meantime, I strongly encourage you to check out chess24.com, lovely chess website, where I'll be doing commentary on Norway chess with Peter Svidler and all that good stuff. See you guys in a couple minutes. Bye. Poofy Edric is asking, did you travel to Oslo just to see Bill Burr? Kind of, yeah. As mentioned, 2/3 of my family are Norwegian too, so we have some ties to Oslo. But I mainly went for the Bill Burr thing indeed. See you guys soon for the Magnus Carlsen, Jonas Bjerre thing. Bye. What's up, nerds? Did I miss anything important? Looks like all the games are over. Looks like there's still the Space Invaders thing. Or how was this old game you used to play on old cell phones where you had to ping a ball around by you moving that slider? It's driving me a little mad, not gonna lie. And I will just stare at it for the next 10 minutes. So let's sum up. Magnus Carlsen gave a Simul on 25 boards and he won all the games due to his world championliness. Now he will face arguably an even tougher challenge, even though it's only one opponent. He will play a match against the great hope of Danish chess, Jonas Bjerre, at 9:45. And before that, he will drop some knowledge by giving an interview, which hopefully, if Tekjan can figure out like how to embed it and make the sound work and all that stuff, on this very stream, in the common tone. So that's the program for the rest of the night. The interview is supposed to start around 9, I believe. And in the meantime, wow, Mr. Pilbarta is still with us in the chat. So let's look at a lovely Pilbarta picture for like 9 minutes. The Norway Chess promo is in full swing because we want company for our Norway Chess 2019 coverage, which is for Chess24 premium members only. So we have all these exciting offers, like you can get 3 extra months using the code Norway-2019 if you become a premium member and get a year-long or 2-year-long or 3-year-long. We should add like an 18-year-long subscription, but we don't have that yet. But if you get one of those, you get 3 months extra with that code. And I think we have the hoodie promo. Bang! You can get a free hoodie if you get a 1-year membership. And believe it or not, it says Chess24 on it. So if that's not exciting, I don't know what else to tell you. Please join us for our little show if you don't want such a long commitment. And trust me, I know fear of commitments. You can also check out a monthly membership. $10. That's what I spent earlier on this cappuccino. And actually pretty decent cheese sandwich. So I was gonna say it's a good deal because it's the price of a cappuccino and a cheese sandwich, but it was a pretty good cheese sandwich, so I'm not sure that's a good comparison. Think of something crappy you could buy for $10 and then think that will also get you access to all the video series, all the banter blitzes, all the wise commentary that we shall be doing. Ned Blind is asking, are you and Peter going to Stavanger? No, we'll be here in the Hamburg Germanys. Come on, this is not a court pause anymore. We, the people, demand action. Trevor Genius is saying, Lawrence Trent DVD costs €30. Yeah, but that's actually good value for money. So here for €10, you only get access at all our video series by Vishy Anand, Peter Svidler, Hu Yifan, Matthew Sadler, Jan Gustafsson, Sopiko Guramishvili, Romain Edouard, Artur Yusupov, Mark Dvoretsky. So I'm not sure if that's a fair comparison, because it is 1/3 of the price of Lawrence Trent DVD after all. What else is there to say? We have some new video series coming out. Romain Edouard did one on the French defense, which I don't approve of, because the French defense, as we all know, is a horrible opening and it should be forbidden from tournament play. But if you disagree and you want to learn more about this disgusting way to open the game, you might as well look at his video series. I did a new series sitting next to Josef Dorfman, who really did all the work. He explained his method in chess. That will be coming out these days. Sopiko has a new video series on a sharper way of combating the Nimzo Indian Knight C3, Bishop B4, F3. I did an old series on Queen C2. If you want to play it tight, you can also watch that. But F3 is more ambitious. So you can check out Sopiko's series as usual with heavy Anish Giri input. At least I assume so. Shabbat Genius is saying French defense. It should be called How to Try to Survive Bishop Takes H7 in 100 Ways. Yeah, fair enough. By the way, Chaba Genius on Twitch, are you the Chaba from Chess24 or is there another Chaba? Note how I mispronounce Chaba and Chaba within the same sentence. That's also a genius. Kleinmeister is saying, take a cup of coffee, Jan, during the break. I did follow your advice. Floyd Akash is asking, what about Exchange French? It's also covered in that series. It's very thorough like that. What else can I tell you? I can show you some of my games. I'm sure that's what you really came here for. I played chess this weekend. I won a game of chess on Saturday and on Sunday. So I'm very happy with myself. My rating is up to 2645. I'm very unhappy about the fact that it's not 2650 because that's the rating I really need. And now I'll be going on my annual 6-month break. So it's going to be very hard to get to that 2650. And then when I come back from the 6-month break, I'll be rusty and lose 20 points again, which I then have to painstakingly regain. Life is tough. Anyway, I didn't play b3, I played queen c2. See, my memory is great. b5, b3, g6, bishop b2, bishop g7. This is my game from Saturday, and here I found an amazing tactic, which I had seen in advance. I was sort of trying to keep poker face, which is easier if you have zero emotions like me. It's not that hard to not display any, because you don't have any. Anyway, after cd5, cd5, I took the pawn, or I was gonna take the pawn, because he didn't go c takes d5. And there's problems. So my pawn went b4 instead. I went knight e4. And I got a pretty good position out of the opening. Tipsy Tune is saying annual 6-month break. You want to say that's incorrect? If I take a 6-month break every year, how would you phrase it? Tipsy Tune. Huh? We houden nog steeds een kort pauze. Europamaster is asking why 2650 and when does the 2700 fall? It's not easy only playing Bangkok Open, but according to my math, 2028, 2700, boom. Oof, it's getting hot in here. All of these lights. Do I have a full screen Jan frame? Because I think that's what we need here. This kort pauze thing is getting to me, so I'll switch it off. Chaba Genius is asking, ga je een Nederlandse Chess24 oprichten? Nee, volgens mij niet, Chaba Genius. Nederlands is een heel moeilijk spraak, zo ik geloof niet dat de mensen kunnen schaken in het Nederlands. Volgens mij. Schakers van Tilburg zijn heel goed, maar Amsterdam kunnen minder dan iets. Oh, and CP Counter is correcting my Dutch. Give me a break, CP Counter. Come on. I told you it's an impossible language. All the Scheveningen sounds. Lorinda is saying, I always thought Jan was British. What gave it away? My strong German accent? As he casts with that British Peter guy so often. Nah, he's Russian. You got it all wrong. Absilla on Chess24 is asking, does Peter Svidler hold the record for most Russian championship victories? I would guess so. 8 is a lot. Like, how long has this Russia even been around? Like, who could have won more titles during the reign of Sir Peter the Breaker? Poop Headerake is saying Peter's English is better than 95% of native speakers. That doesn't... I don't disagree necessarily, I don't know. I don't know 95% of the native speakers. But why exactly? What language do they prefer? Rigo's Chess is saying, show us your best game ever. I just did. I took a pawn. Didn't you see how I took that pawn? Boom! Shabbat Genius is asking, does anyone know whether Peter speaks excellent Russian as well? I doubt it. I think he specializes in English. Like his native lingo. See, I don't speak excellent English, unfortunately. I don't think he's very proficient in it. What are we talking about? My boy CP Counter. Now you're mocking my English? I don't think that's a battle you want to start, CP Counter. My Dutch you can mock. My English, Peter can mock my English. You can't. Speaking of Peter, Poop Hederick is saying, for instance, I'm an educated, wow, brag, native speaker. And he taught me the word Dodich. Is it Dodich or Dodich? I don't know. Poop Hederick. Maybe your Dodich had kicked in already. That's why you forgot about the word. Let's look at some of Magnus's great exploits during the Simul. He took a piece, and then he took a pawn. And he's going to do this. Pretty good plan. By the way, in case you're worried about missing the action, you're not. If you hold there in court pause it. This game, I don't think Black resigned here. I'm guessing it's a lost in translation situation. Because it looks too early to resign. I was critical of Black's play on the dark squares especially. But it's still too early to resign. It's one of the best positions I've seen in the Simul. Equal material. 2 bishops. So no reason to just give it up already. Why did I centralize myself awkwardly like this? What was I thinking? Grizzerman is asking, will there be an interview here? I would expect so. I won't be doing it, but I will be embedding it into this very show. The minute it starts. Or a minute after it starts. Somewhere in that neighborhood. So yeah, we're all breathlessly waiting for Magnus to drop some knowledge. Not just on the chessboard, but also on the microphone. And then maybe drop the microphone. Lorinda is also dropping some knowledge, saying, if you resign early in a 25-player Simul, you're first to the bar. I think they normally do have open bars at these Simuls to get people so drunk that even if they have a good position, they will eventually succumb to their drunkenness. So please, entertain me. Ask me a chess question. Anything, really. To make this wait more bearable. 1 e4. Good move. I once won a game. After e4, e5. My pawn played f4. Mistake. I took. He went here with the queen. My pawn was an international master of chess. I went knight to c6. He went here with the knight. I went d5. He took. I went here. He took here. I was of course not brave enough to take this pawn, so I went here. He insisted. He went knight to c3. I said, no thank you. I do not want your poisonous gifts. I gave a check. He went here. I gave another check. And he resigned. Maybe that's my best game ever. Because now he's in trouble. King g1, this queen c5 check. And king g3. I calculated. Queen e1 check. King h3. Knight f2 check. And I thought I'd take it from there. Probably you can do better than that. But that was my plan. Something like king g3. Knight takes h1 checkmate. That was the hope. But it didn't happen. Because he resigned after knight g4 check. That might be my quickest win ever against a title player. And I hold it very dearly. C. Hansen64 is asking, when will you play for Germany again? I think they figured out that I'm a bit of a cancer to have around the team. So they thought, okay, he might be German number 2, but he's too much of a jerk. We just can't have this guy around. So I don't see it happening anytime soon. Looks like there's stuff happening over there. Let's do a little test. If I manage to embed this, I'm gonna need you guys to help me out and let me know, because I do not know. Can you hear that?
And together they will give us some insights
Is it loud
into
enough?
the thought processes and mental skills of Magnus Carlsen, and perhaps give us a broader understanding of the person behind the success. Welcoming to the stage, Peter Lund Madsen.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'll do this in English. I've just been to Japan, so I'll bow a little to the things I would ask very much Mr. Magnus Carlsen to join me here on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, the real star. Thank you very much. Hello. Thank you, Magnus. Thank you for coming. I just watched you beat 24 persons in chess, and I can tell you I know very little about chess, but I know something about the brain. So I apologize on beforehand if I ask stupid questions regarding chess. But I'll start out with one question I know many people have. What are you thinking when you are playing all those 24 persons?
I mean, it varies at any time. Most of the time, frankly speaking, I'm annoyed at some mistake I made in another game, and trying not to focus about that. But it's yeah, it's not easy, because there are players of very different strengths. So.
Yes.
You cannot really distribute your energy evenly, because that would be, a bit too much. So you have to sort of think who do you need to spend more energy on, and to keep that.
But how early on can you detect those players who need your attention and those who are not that good to chess?
I think you can often see it pretty early on from some opening moves, also in the way people move their pieces, if they're attentive to the game or looking at something else. There are a lot of signs.
How do you move your piece when you are not that good?
Well, a steady hand is always a good thing. Making up your mind about where the piece is going to go before you grab it is a sure sign that you know what you're doing. But it's hard to really explain completely. It's just that as an experienced chess player, that's something you see.
You have an intuitive feeling. You can feel it in yourself.
Yes, and that is why I find this whole premise very, very difficult, because in most aspects of my chess life, that will simply be the answer. I know, and I don't know why I know, or I think, but I don't know why I think that, because at some point it all becomes very, very intuitive.
Yes, but I can say to you that most of life is like this. Many things I do in my life is intuitive, but is based on a very, very skilled analysis of my brain. When I behave socially, there's a lot of analysis going on, but I behave intuitively. I don't think about what I'm doing, but I'm doing the right thing. And if I'm not doing the right thing, people will see it very, very instantly. And I think in many ways it's the same with chess, that you have this pattern recognition, you have a lot of analysis going on, and you are presented to the result, but you don't really know how you reached the result.
Yeah, I think that's exactly exactly what it is. You obviously you analyze, but it's based on patterns that you've studied over the course of your life.
But do you remember the first time you played chess?
I don't remember the first time I played chess. The thing is, I wouldn't really call it playing chess because I was just moving pieces around. I think pretty randomly, and the thing is, it's very hard to remember sequences of moves that don't really make any sense. And it's also not like I caught the bug immediately, because the first couple of years after I learned the rules, I found it very, very hard. And I sort of remember the time when it turned around and I got really interested in chess, and I still remember a lot of the thoughts that I had about particular games back then, but before that it's very, very scattered.
So before you began to see the pattern, you don't remember what was going on. Can you tell me what was it that turned you on to chess? What happened?
So the simple explanation is that I wanted to beat my older sister, because I wanted to beat her at everything. My father was studying with her because he had pretty much given up me.
In chess?
In chess,
Yes.
yes. And it was fair. She was older, she was more mature. So it made sense that he would try with her, even though he thought that I might have a talent for chess earlier on. And so I wanted to beat her, and eventually I started following the lessons, started making my own suggestions, and I started studying a bit on my own. So I would look at games from books and magazines that we had in the house, because my father is an avid chess player, and I would constantly ask my father questions about this and that, but mostly I would just study on my own and be very curious just to explore new possibilities.
And then when did you realize that you had this special gift for chess? When you beat your older sister, or was it something else?
No, I mean, I found it quite natural that I beat my older sister, because I studied. But it's as simple as I studied and she didn't. And so I started playing against kids of my own age. Eventually, I became the best in my age group in Norway, which was also not a surprise. I'd played chess for a shorter time than they had, but I spent a lot of time on chess, and I could see from the play of the others that they weren't improving so much from tournament to tournament. But with every tournament that I played, it was clear that I knew a lot more, because I'd studied in between as well as playing, and there were a lot of stepping stones, new levels I had to catch, but eventually when I think when I was about 10, 11, when I made a lot of progress and became one of the better players in my country, then I definitely felt that this was something for me.
It was not just the training, there was also something else going on.
No, I mean, I was playing tournaments all the time, which is the best training, sort of. But I don't think early on, when you don't have the knowledge, then you cannot really expect to improve much if you just play tournaments at weekends and you don't practice otherwise.
But how do you practice chess? How do you study chess?
Well, I mean, it helps just sitting down at the chessboard and, for instance, playing a game against yourself can help, where you make moves from both sides. That's one of the things that I was doing, and at times I was trying to imitate something I'd read in a magazine or a book or something from my own games. It's also you can do exercises. One of the first exercise books I had, or the first exercise book I had, was Finn Planen by Bent Larsen. He wrote lots of instructive chess books that taught people chess, not only in Denmark but the rest of Nordic countries as well. Which was basically the book was basically exercises of finding the right plans. It was not purely tactical. It was more of getting a positional, strategic feeling for the game.
So you have, when you play chess, you have to realize your position, and then you have to have a plan, a short-term plan and a long-term plan in order to succeed. Is that correct?
Not necessarily. I mean, the long-term plan is always to give checkmate.
Yes, that's a good plan.
So it's I mean, people often forget that when they've played a lot of chess, because you're used to all of these micro plans to improve your position, gain small advantages. But at the end of the day, the goal of the game is checkmate, and it's easy to forget about that. Like when you learn the rules of the game and you learn the goal, then you want to attain that goal as quickly as possible, but eventually you'll learn that that's not so easy, and you almost forget about the ultimate goal. But yes, there are often short-term plans, but sometimes that's another quote by Bent Larsen, which is that sometimes having no plan is better than having a bad plan.
That's true.
So, no, you don't have to applaud that. It basically means that often in chess, it's you have to take it a bit move by move. It sounds contrary to what most people think go on in chess, but often there are just so many possibilities that you cannot think more than a couple of moves ahead. And if you're up against a strong opponent, he or she will realize what your plans are and prevent them anyway.
But maybe you have an intuitive plan, an overview that guides you in the correct direction, even though you just think 2 steps ahead or 3 steps ahead.
I guess most of the time you have some sort of ideal situation that you want, some sort of dream that you want to obtain from that particular position. But no, most of the time, I mean, I very rarely have any long-term plans at all. It's all short-term thinking mostly, because as I said, your opponent's gonna prevent your plans anyway, so you have to constantly reevaluate the situation, and that's one of the things that set apart the best players from the second best, is that is the ability to adjust to new situations all the time. Like there's basically an unlimited amount of possibilities in chess, but there is a limited amount of patterns, and all the good players, they can find the best the best ideas most of the time. They can find the right plans because they've studied these patterns over thousands and thousands of hours. But often there are some nuances of the plan that makes this work once and not work another time. But so it becomes more of a tactical battle whether you can actually make those plans work. And so when you see a game in which it seems that one of very strong players, in which it seems that one player made a very crude positional strategical mistake, it's usually a case of a tactical mistake that led to a poor strategic game.
So have you ever played against a computer, artificial intelligence?
I've obviously played games against computers. I've played on my app against Magnus whatever age, which can be fun, but it also a bit frustrating at times. I much prefer to play against human opponents because I feel
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to shout now.
Yeah. Me too. No, because it's yes.
There we go. No, it's a psychological warfare. I think chess is a very psychological game, and there's an element of bluff sometimes, and all of this goes away when you're playing computers. And besides, the best computers are better than the best humans, and I don't like to lose. That's one of the reasons why I don't like to play computers.
But is there a basic difference? Is it more difficult to predict what a computer comes up with than what a human comes up with, or is it just?
It's definitely more difficult to predict a computer because again the computer doesn't have plans.
It doesn't have plans. It doesn't have an intuition.
No, exactly. So it can look like it has plans. It can look like it has intuition, but of course it doesn't. And that also makes it sort of less predictable, and also less fun in the sense that
Yes.
it's in chess is a battle of minds, and the computer is extremely strong, but it's also incredibly stupid. And I think the problem a lot of people have in chess is that when they lose, they feel stupid, and that is an unpleasant feeling, and it's something that discourages people from playing chess. And it's even worse to lose to somebody who you feel smarter than, because at that moment you feel like somebody, not necessarily stupid, but somebody less smart beat you. And when you lose to a computer, you constantly feel that exact feeling that you're playing somebody incredibly stupid and they beat you all the time. And frankly, I cannot imagine a more frustrating feeling.
No, but you must remember it doesn't have the intuition. Because I have an example, I don't know if it's a good example, but what you tell me what I've read is that you look at this pattern of pieces on the board and you recognize something you can work with. I'm going to, if we can change the picture up on the screens, can you see this image? There? It's a brick wall.
Yeah.
And there's something more. Can you see what it is?
My eyesight is not great, but it looks like an egg or an animal of some sort. I don't know.
No. But it's a cigar. It's a cigar coming out from the wall there. Can you see the cigar now?
No.
No. But it is a cigar. Can you see the cigar? It is a pattern that has to be recognized by your brain. And if it doesn't get the cues, you cannot see it properly. But you can go down into the room and you can see it later. Then you recognize it. And it's the same thing I think happens when you look at the board and see this pattern. You see something I cannot see, but you recognize things that gives a meaning to you. And that is something the brain does all the time. Very, very limited amount of information is interpreted and made into something understandable. So it's exactly what you're doing when you are watching the chessboard. And then when you're making your strategies, it's exactly what you do in your real life. You have to have the ability to change your plan all the time if something new comes up. And if you don't have this ability, things go wrong. You will be run over by a car or something like that. So I think what happens in a chess game is very much on a rigid scale what happens in a real human life. And the abilities you have to master is the same, but you just trained a specific thing, and that's why you are so great at this.
Yeah, and to your point, to me, obviously, it's like learning a language with chess, that you, whether others hear or see chaos, you see clear lines and you see patterns, and it's actually it's hard for me to imagine what people who don't play a lot of chess see when they see a certain chess position, because I see it so differently. But it's interesting that obviously adaptability is important in life, and it's chess. You said it a lot more eloquently than I can. But yeah.
What is basically the function of the brain? Makes plans all the time. It has memory of the future. It has a memory of a lot of plans to deal with a very great variability of situations. And that is what you're using a very large part of your brain activity to obtain this large amount of plans to meet almost any situation that can arise in a situation. And when you play chess, it is the areas that plan which is activated. Two parts, the areas that plan and the areas who does the pattern recognition. This is where you find the specific activation while you're playing chess. Yeah. So it is what you're doing in your normal life in a very refined setting. So can you tell me what kind of specific talents do chess players who are very good normally have?
I don't know.
What kind of talents do you have?
I don't know, to be honest. I consider myself to be like decently intelligent, not by any means a genius or anything like that. I consider myself to be more or less a regular person who has found something he has a big talent for. I don't know. That's the problem. I don't know what my talent consists of, or of other top chess players. It's basically we've just trained ourselves in this particular, area.
But you have, I have read, a great ability to remember. You remember a lot of details, situations and things. So you can remember a lot of chess games, a lot of positions, a lot of specific material. Isn't that correct?
I think that used to be the case when I was little, and my brain was smaller and there was less information. Then I could remember things very well. But I don't, looking back, I don't think I had or have a exceptionally good memory. To be honest, now I can barely remember the games that I played a month ago. But I can remember the patterns. I can remember the main ideas and the big lines sort of from those games, and I think that's what the brain finds important, rather than remembering a lot of details which the brain thought was very important when it had little information as a child, but now considers much less useful. So I can definitely remember patterns, but I don't think it's particularly because of memory.
But then you have one thing, I know, and that is you do not like to lose. Isn't that correct? You said when you make a mistake, you feel very bad about it. It's difficult for you to forget it. You don't like to make mistakes. You don't want to lose.
I think it's twofold. For me, I don't like to perform poorly, but I also don't like to lose. So, but for me these days, it's mostly about, even if I win and I feel like I've performed poorly, then that makes me makes me upset. It makes me enjoy winning a lot less. But I think that's just the case when you've done something for long enough and you do it well, then you start competing not only against others but against yourself.
But if we played football together and I beat you, it will not happen. But if would you then be annoyed, or would it be okay, or do you generally not like to lose?
I generally don't, but it would depend on it would depend very much on the situation. Also, if I might go absolutely bananas, I'm definitely capable of that, but I might also not care at all. So I definitely have the potential to be a very poor loser, and anybody who's seen me lose a chess game ever knows that. But it's but I think it's an essential part of competing at anything at a high level, that you have to be very competitive. I think chess is many things, but for me it's most of all a sport, and it can be an art as well, but sport for me always takes precedence over art. Like, if I have the chance to win simply, or in another way more artfully, but 5% chance of it going wrong, then I will choose the simple way.
So you want to win. Do you have a play you participated in that you remember as a real good game? And can you tell me why was that a very good game?
I can only remember the bad games, or the ones I was disappointed with. It's a pity, but that's what the brain remembers. I think it remembers the bad experiences. And yes, I can remember that I've played some games that I was more or less happy with, but there's always some little thing that even if I didn't maybe I make a mistake, but I miscalculated something, then so maybe in 20 years, looking back on my career, I can tell you this game, and that game I was happy with, but right now I'm just always trying to improve.
But the career of a chess player, usually, at which age does it peak? At which age span does it peak?
It's varied over time. If you asked the best chess players, let's say 50 to 60 years ago, they would say that the 40s are the best years for chess, and now people would say that there are very few who can compete at the top in their 40s. So I would say now it's the sessions of play are longer. There's more of a demand of remembering, computer analysis and all of this, and it's become more of a young man's game. So I would say that the peak of your powers is usually about the same as it would be in any athletic endeavor like football or something. It's usually between 20 and 35.
So you are in the peak area.
Right now I'm doing, I should be at least. Right now I'm actually doing pretty well.
Yes.
But there was a period of time of 2-3 years previously when I wasn't doing as well as before, and then I thought, That's a bit of a shame, peaking at 22 and all going downhill from there. But now it's better, and I definitely believe that I can be very, very good for at least 10 more years if I'm motivated.
But tonight, 10 more years. But tonight, for me, you have just played 24 persons. Now you have to sit here and talk with me in English, and then you're going to play another game. Will you be tired when you go home tonight, or will it just have been a pleasant evening with a lot of fun?
Why can't it be both?
Yes.
No, I will definitely be tired, and that's the way it's supposed to be. When you're tired after using your brain, that's a sign that you've done well.
That you've done well. And what are you going to do tomorrow?
I'm going to travel back, I think, to Norway and try and relax. If everything goes well with the last games of the day, then I will be very satisfied. Otherwise, I won't.
But what are your plans for the future? What will you do when you stop playing chess on a high level? Do you have any thoughts about that, or is it just doesn't matter right now?
You mean the long-term plans?
Yes, the long-term plans. Is it just intuition?
No, as I say, I only make short-term plans, and the short-term plan is to play chess as long as I'm motivated, as long as I feel like I can do it at a very high level. After that, as again the situations change, I don't have any particular plan, like there's something I want to do. But what I do feel is that if I'm going to do something else, then I will have to spend a lot of time on it, and to be humble and not think that because I can play chess well, I can do something else very well without training, because I know how much time I've put into chess, that it's not only about talent. So I very much respect people who work hard.
But when you was a child and you were doing all this chess playing, was it considered normal by the people you went to school with? Did you have, was there any problems, or was it just a normal childhood you had?
I thought it was pretty normal.
Yes.
I had my own sort of table in the living room at home, where I would eat most of my meals, because I didn't see the sense of wasting time by just eating and not doing anything else. So I would usually play chess or read comics or something. The thing is just that I was brainwashed by my parents to think that video games were no fun. And so I would spend time I would play a lot of football. I went to school as normal kids. I just wasn't wasting a lot of time on video games or other things. I would spend most of my time doing something. So I feel that I had a very normal childhood, and I don't think people thought I was particularly weird. If they did, I didn't notice it.
So it doesn't matter.
So it doesn't matter.
No. But I've seen some documentaries about your life, and it seems like you have a very, very nice family, and you have a very close relationship to your sisters. And I envy you having 3 sisters, being the one brother in the group. Is that correct?
Yeah, my family, we have a very harmonic relationship. They've always supported me. A couple of my sisters have played chess as well and enjoyed it. They're not very competitive, so they didn't really want to compete with me, but they just found enjoyment in the game. They've always supported me, never pushed me into anything. They've always been great, and I'm very, very thankful for them to them for their support and most of all just being great people.
Yes. And then now you can give that for your family. Yes. You have traveled all over the world, and you're Norwegian, and you're in Denmark, and we are Scandinavians. Do you feel something special because you're coming from Scandinavia? Can you feel that you have some tradition with you, or is it just nothing?
No, I very much wanted to speak Norwegian here today because I feel like when we all speak Scandinavian languages...
Vi kan tage det sidste.
Vi kan ta, altså, jeg føler egentlig at jeg ville gjerne snakke norsk, fordi jeg mener at nordmenn og dansker burde kunne forstå hverandre. Og jeg tenker at hvis man ikke gjør det, så er det egentlig deres problem da. Men så jeg føler jo absolutt at man har at det er fint å komme hit. Man har mye til felles, kulturelt, språklig, og det har ikke vært så mange sjanser for å komme til Danmark for å spille sjakk, og derfor så er det veldig, veldig fint å være her.
Jeg tror at det er nemmere for nordmænd at forstå dansk, end det er for os at forstå norsk. Jeg har været over i Norge, og jamen, jeg siger bare, hvad jeg tror. Den står jeg helt alene med. Jeg kan fortælle dig bagefter. Jeg kan fortælle, hvorfor. Jeg skulle engang holde foredrag i Norge. Og jeg forstod ikke noget af, hvad de sagde. Og jeg tænkte, at det bliver forfærdeligt, fordi når jeg holder foredrag, så forstår de heller ikke noget af, hvad jeg siger. Og det var skoleelever fra gymnasiet, og der er ikke nogen noget. Hvis de ikke forstår, hvad man siger, så begynder de at larme. Men de forstod, hvad jeg sagde. Så det, jeg vil rette fra at sige, at danskere ikke kan forstå norsk, til at sige, at jeg kan ikke forstå norsk, men jeg forstår fint, hvad du siger. Så det kan være, at jeg har været meget langt ude på landet i Norge.
Ja, altså, det er selvfølgelig, det er vel sikkert sånn i Danmark også, det er dialekter som er mye vanskeligere å forstå. Og så vil jeg tro at det er et slags sånn historisk lillebror-storebror-forhold, at danskene har tenkt at, vel, norsk, det kan ikke være så viktig å lære. Altså det landet der nord som vi koloniserte i vår tid, det kan da virkelig ikke være nødvendig å forstå hva de sier. De bruker jo bare språket vårt på en merkelig måte også, så det kan ikke gi noen mening.
Jeg vil sige, at jeg synes, at danskere og nordmænd virker som om, at de har meget nemt ved at tale med hinanden, altså at være på bølgelængde sammen. Og jeg føler ikke det storebror-lillebror-forhold mellem Danmark og Norge, som man kan gøre mellem Danmark og Sverige, for eksempel. Så der vil jeg sige, at vi skulle have gjort det på dansk og norsk, måske, men nu blev det på engelsk, så fik vi trænet engelsk begge to.
Ja, men det var fint med litt med begge deler, det ble bra sånn.
Men Magnus, til sidst, hvis nu jeg skulle blive bedre til skak, og der er store udviklingsmuligheder, hvad vil du så give mig som råd? Hvad skulle jeg gøre, hvis jeg bare for hyggens skyld skulle blive bedre?
Det er jo først og fremst å finne tid da, til å bli bedre og rett og slett diskutere, sette seg ned ved brettet, spille, diskutere med noen som er bedre, som kan mer. Unnskyld. For meg, jeg føler meg veldig, veldig heldig til å være blant de siste generasjonene, eller egentlig siste generasjonen, som vokste opp først og fremst med å lære sjakk på brett. Jeg tror du mister noe hvis du kun lærer det digitalt. Så jeg har selvfølgelig fått veldig mye nytte av computer senere, men jeg vil absolutt råde deg, eller hvem det skulle være, til å bruke både brett og ikke bare være digitalt. Det er selvfølgelig fantastisk at det er så lett tilgjengelig, og det gjør det jo enklere å bruke tid på det, men også lære ved brett. Når man lærer ved brett, så tror jeg man forstår på en måte geometrien i spillet. Man ser det på en litt annen måte enn man ser over digitalt. Da. Jeg føler i hvert fall at jeg fortsatt at jeg forstår spillet bedre når jeg ser det på brett.
Det råd vil jeg tage imod. Mine damer og herrer, Magnus Carlsen fra Norge. Tusind tak. Tusind tak. Nu skal du spille.
Tusind tak for det begge to. Det var virkelig interessant og underholdende og lærerigt endda også. Skal vi ikke alle sammen lige sige tusind tak til Peter Lund Madsen for den fine indsats her, det fine interview. Mange tak. Magnus, kom du med herfra? Fordi du får jo ikke helt lov at gå endnu. Nu fortsætter vi bare på dansk så, ikke?
Ja.
Du får ikke helt lov at gå endnu, fordi du har jo lige en opgave mere her på scenen, ikke sandt? Nu skal du jo op imod en ung dansker, der virkelig er på vej frem. Han er kun 14 år, men han er allerede blevet beskrevet som et af de allerstørste skaktalenter fra Danmark nogensinde. Så jeg synes bare, at vi skal få ham på scenen. Vil I ikke tage rigtig godt imod Jonas Buhl Bjerre? Du har taget dit eget hæppekor med her, det er dejligt at høre.
Ja.
Hvordan har du det?
Har det godt.
Det var godt.
Jeg glæder mig til at komme i gang.
Hvor meget kendte du egentlig til Magnus? Har du sådan fulgt hans karriere, eller?
Ja, altså, jeg følger med, når han spiller live. Tror jeg har gjort, siden jeg begyndte næsten at spille.
Og hvornår gjorde du det?
Jeg var 5-6 år, så et par år efter, da jeg rigtig begyndte at spille, så begyndte jeg også at følge med.
Så hvordan er det at stå her og dele scene og dele rampelys med verdensmesteren?
Det er helt vildt sjovt, det. Det er spændende.
Sådan. Ved I hvad? I skal jo snart i gang, men vi skal selvfølgelig lige sørge for, at det hele foregår i overensstemmelse med reglerne. Derfor skal vi have vores dommer, Martin Hovbo, ind på scenen. Vil du ikke lige komme ind og hjælpe os lidt her? Martin, vil du ikke være venlig lige ganske kort lige at ridse reglerne op for os, og så også forestå lodtrækningen?
Jo, lad os starte med lodtrækningen. Vi trækker lod om retten til at vælge farve i det første parti. Jonas, vil du have plat eller krone?
Plat.
Du tager plat. Hvilken farve vil du have i første parti? Jonas har hvid i det første parti, efter at have vundet en lodtrækning. De spiller 2 partier. I det første har Jonas hvid, parti nummer 2 har Magnus hvid. De har hver 15 minutter til at tænke sig om, og så får de ekstra 5 sekunder hver gang de rykker. Så reelt set kan partiet vare rigtig lang tid. Det bliver så spændende at se, om det gør. Jeg synes så småt, I skal sætte jer.
Ja. Jamen,
Og
værsgo
så-
at tage pladser. Begge to. Nu valgte Jonas, du valgte jo de hvide, ikke sandt?
Jonas valgte de hvide.
Magnus. Jonas valgte jo de hvide, ikke sandt?
Næste gang.
Og dermed, mine damer og herrer, så sætter vi gang i Energi Danmark Champions Battle med Jonas Buhl Bjerre og Magnus Carlsen.
Ja.
What's up, guys? Had a good time with the interview? Whoa, who are these people? That's my old friend Jonas Buhl Bjerre, Danish Grandmaster. We used to play together for Hamburg, and he spent a lot of time on my couch in my old bachelor apartment. I made him watch a lot of crappy movies, and now he and I will both watch, hopefully, a lot of non-crappy chess, because the real action is about to begin with Magnus Carlsen having the black pieces in the first game against Jonas Bjerre, the Danish prodigy. We have a handshake and we have the moves. It's 2 games of 15 minutes plus 5 seconds increment. Then, should the score be 1-1, it will be an Armageddon game to determine the overall winner. Now, I'm not a prediction expert, as regular viewers of this program might know, but my money would be on Magnus Carlsen. He is 300 points higher rated. And he's the world number 1 in rapid, the world number 1 in blitz, the world number 1 in classical chess. So he's a bit of a favorite here, but of course it's a great experience for Jonas Bjerre to get to play one-on-one with the world champion. The world champion chooses a bit of a sideline here, the move 4g6. Of course, more common move in this position is knight f6, as Magnus himself has played many a time. He recently played 3g6, both I think in rapid and blitz games, and most notably in his Banter Blitz match against Peter Svidler. It's an old favorite of his. He generally likes these setups with bishop g7, d6, and then bishop d7, allowing white to go c3 and d4. And we'll see if Bjerre decides to go for the standard c3 plan here, or if he first has a look around and then maybe decides on something else. But after castles bishop to g7, c3 is very typical. When black has a choice between playing pawn to d6, d4, bishop d7, this is what Magnus normally does, or you could also adopt a setup like knight g7, d4, b5. Which has become a little more topical recently. But Carlsen sticks to his guns and goes for this d6 setup after d4, bishop d7. The old thinking used to be that after d5, knight c7, let's say c4, white is better, because in this King's Indian structure, the light squared bishops get exchanged. But Carlsen and others have shown that things aren't so easy here. First of all, you have the option to exchange his bishop with bishop h6, but also in slower play, if you go h6, f5, knight f6, and then maybe initiate some action on the queen side later by putting the pawn on c6. Matters are not so simple for white. Therefore, people have started to look for other ways in the position after bishop to d7. Some like the move d takes e5 here, some like the move rook to e1. And yeah, rook to e1 is indeed what is played in our game. Now black faces a choice where he wants to put his knight. After knight g7, you could make a case for going d5 now, because now the square is no longer available for the other knight. So this one would have to retreat all the way to b8. It's playable, but I believe that knight to f6 is also a viable option here. When there could be some complications after takes, d takes e5, but I think after knight takes e4, black escapes these without getting into too much trouble. So I would expect the move knight to f6, but Carlsen does prove me wrong, and he does go knight g7. He just wants the structure, and he's still not too concerned about pawn to d5. White has other options. You could put a bishop on g5 here, hoping to make something of this pin and trying to provoke f6. You could just play a move like bishop to e3, followed by knight bd2, keeping the tension. All of these things have been tried, also the standard maneuver, knight bd2, short castles, and knight to f1. But now black would be fairly well developed to start immediate action on the king side, pushing his pawn to f5. Or even to start counterplaying the center after ed, cd, bishop g4. So matters aren't so simple for white here. And maybe it's also a conscious decision by Carlsen to give his young opponent a choice between different structures. And of course, facing the beast that is Magnus Carlsen, it won't be so easy to have to make decisions about what structure to go for early on if Bjerre has not studied this position in great detail. And I would guess most people haven't, because there are normally more pressing issues like the Berlin, the Marshall, the Petrov, the Najdorf, the Sveshnikov, to spend all your time on these positions. Bjerre goes d5, he goes for this King's Indian structure. As mentioned, that's very logical. Now that black has committed his knight to e7, so this one has to go all the way home to b8. Typical follow-up would be to play c4 and then try to push for the eventual pawn break with c4, c5. Knight to b8 is on the board. Takes on d7, knight takes d7, making sure these bishops do disappear. I would still think c4 followed by knight c3 is the way to play, and yeah, that's indeed what happened. Black will castle, knight to c3, and then... Oh no, he doesn't castle, he starts with h6. I was going to say, then he has to start preparing pawn to f5, but he wants to do that without wasting a move on castles. Maybe keeping the option to go f5 now immediately, but nah, it's just transposition. Pawn to f5, looming. Now white has to decide how to arrange his pieces. It's not obvious to me. If you go b4, then there is a5, and you can't keep the structure because a3 runs into the typical a takes b4, and the rook on a1 will be hanging. So that's not necessarily what you want to go b4 so early. Bishop e3 is a typical move, but then after f5, you wish you had time to regroup your piece with knight d2 followed by f3, but you do not, because here f4 traps the bishop. So it's a bit of a decision how to arrange the pieces already. If the rook weren't on e1, you could go knight e1, knight d3, but the rook is on e1. Therefore, I'm frankly not 100% sure. Knight d2 in these structures is sort of a typical regrouping, but it does look a little funny here. And after f5, f3, I'm not sure that white wants to go for this position. So I would not be surprised if Bjerre burns some more time here. He plays rook b1, preparing this push of a pawn to b4 without allowing a5, breaking a structure as I explained earlier. So f5, b4 played, knight to f6. Typically black does not want to go for the direct attack here with f4, g5. There he would miss his light squared bishop supporting this attack. And white tends to be reasonably solid if he has to. He can go h3, knight h2 to defend against this. So the black strategy involves keeping the tension in the center and at least hinting at the option of going f takes e4 followed by knight to f5. More decisions to be made for white. I would guess it's too early for c5 because that undermines the support for your d5 pawn. And after f takes e4, once again important that black hasn't committed to f4 yet. Knight takes e4. Looks to me like you can take this pawn. So c5 is not a great option yet. Once again this move knight d2 hinting at f3 comes to mind for me. I'm not sure what the alternatives could be. We can push some pawns on the queen side, but it does not look like it's accomplishing very much. Knight d2 played. Now he's ready to meet f takes e4 with knight d takes e4. The price you have to pay is that d4 is no longer covered by a knight. But generally these positions are still somewhat in white's favor. Let's say whatever. Queen takes f6, knight to e4, queen somewhere. And while the black knight has a nice square here, it's not that stable. It can always get challenged by the bishop. While the white knight on e4 is fairly eternal and white can eventually switch his attention to pushing on the queen side with c5 and trying to advantageously open the position there. So, thus far it looks like Bjerre knows what he's doing and is playing well, and Magnus will have to show his cards eventually. I talked about earlier that sometimes in these lines black goes for counterplay on the queen side as well. You can think about c6 here or move like queen to d7, keeping options open, and then c6. And actually I would expect Magnus to do that, because you normally can't win anything with just pure attacking on the king side in these positions. Therefore it's important to make it a battle on all fronts here. And trying to open the queen side by c6 might look counterintuitive, but is often a viable strategy, just trying to undermine this white pawn chain here. And then putting a rook on the c file and hoping that the lack of support for the knight on c3, because the pawn on b4 no longer covers it, can become a factor, and eventually c takes d5 could be an option. So Carlsen played c6 indeed. Once again, asking Bjerre to make another move. f3, I'm not sure, we probably don't need that, and I would feel somewhat uneasy about weakening this diagonal, even though I can't see anything particularly wrong with it. I would guess Magnus would just continue with rook to c8 and keeping the tension on all parts of the board, trying to ask some tricky questions to his young opponent. So, how are we doing on the clock? That's what I was worried about. Bjerre is playing well, but he's spending way too much time. And you have to manage the clock as much as you have to manage the position, as I say in every Bantamweight show, but it's of course much easier said than done when you are playing arguably the greatest player of all time. Is that a stretch? I'm gonna get in trouble. But one of the better players out there. I think that's not too controversial. And of course, you're embarrassed to do something stupid, so you want to take your time. But the problem is you will be missing that time once the position opens up. It's tough. So Bjerre is down to 7 minutes, while Carlsen has hardly spent any time. He's made all the typical moves for this structure. And after some more sensible moves, bishop to d2, rook to c8, queen to b3, Carlsen has now decided to open the c-file after his rook is ready to roam freely there. C takes d5, and I'm curious what he wants to do next. If he wants to, yeah, he already did it. Fix the structure with b5 to make sure this knight never gets to c4. The drawback that this move has is that white gets a bit of a hook here by a4 to create some play. But probably Carlsen feels that a4 he can handle by, I guess, ignoring it with queen d7, ab, and then focus his attention on other sides of the board. Let's say f3, you could think about h5 to bring the bishop out to h6. It does look like black is doing fairly okay here, because it takes quite a long time to either attack the b5 pawn or to bring his knight to a good square. It's not so simple. So it does seem like Carlsen has the situation under control, surely on the clock, but I would say also on the board he's not doing badly. Lazy D is saying, can someone explain to a mediocre player the idea behind bishop g7 when the pawn on e5 seems very fixed and blocking its scope? I've tried the last 10 minutes. But in general, yeah, here bishop g7, well, it's once you go g6, you're very much committed to the setup. The bishop on g7 guards the king, and you need to put it there just to be able to castle. And of course, you wouldn't combine g6 with a move like bishop c5. If you were to do that, you would play another line, like knight f6, bishop e7, or knight f6, followed by bishop c5, which, as I mentioned, are the main lines here. But the setup with g6, bishop g7 is playable, and it slows down the game a bit, making it more strategic and making people take more decisions, which probably is also part of Magnus's game plan for this very game. As I mentioned, it's not a main line, and it never will be for the reasons you mentioned, that your bishop is a little locked in and the light squared bishops get traded, so on paper you get stuck with a bad bishop. But yeah, I've tried to explain why the position is not so simple and black can keep the tension on many different parts of the board, therefore making it tough for white to navigate as well. So rook to a1 on the board, very logical move, preparing rook to a5 to attack this weakness on b5, and now Carlsen has to open the position, he has to do something before rook a5 comes. He goes f takes e4, when I guess we have to do some calculating after knight takes e4, if there's any trickery. Maybe no particular trickery, but maybe just knight takes. White has to recapture with the knight, because now f2 was under attack. And now a move like rook c4 looks very harmonious, occupying that outpost. And sometimes threatening rook takes e4 followed by queen f2, keeping an eye on the d5 pawn. And yeah, it does look like Carlsen has things under control, because his bishop on g7 is bad, but the bishop on b2 is also not great. It's a bit misplaced staring at this e5 pawn. But for reasons mentioned earlier, white wasn't in time to go put the bishop on e3, followed by knight to d2. And now, yeah, it does look like, at the very least, the black position is easier to play. I'm not sure if it's objectively better, I don't have an engine running, but it does feel like it's a much simpler situation to play, because black also has ways to improve his position, with knight f5, followed by knight d4, stuff like that. So knight takes e4 played, knight d takes e4 played, knight takes e4 is played as well, knight takes e4 is forced in order to keep this guy. And yeah, I would expect rook c4, very natural, keeping an eye on the knight, blocking the queen's access to the d5 pawn. Yeah, black is doing alright. One thing you shouldn't do here, for example, is play rook to a5, because then this rook takes e4, rook takes e4, queen f2, king h1, queen f1. It's pretty efficient, and that's a threat that has to be addressed after rook c4 if you play whatever. bishop c3. This is still pretty bad news for white. So I would expect him to maybe play a move like h3, create a luft for the king on h2, when Carlsen can consider sacrificing the exchange with rook takes e4 anyway. But of course, it's by no means forced. There's many alternatives. You could think about taking this pawn, you could think about knight f5. That's all I can think about, really. But yeah, black is fine. And this could be interesting. Rook e4, queen f2. Actually, I'm not sure how interesting it really is. King h2. I was going to say knight f5, but so far, most of the squares are covered. So I'm not sure how great an idea that is. Queen g3 was played instead, also adding extra cover to the f2 pawn. He's abandoning the b4 pawn, but probably that's not high on his list of worries. After rook b4 does bishop a3. It does invite knight f5 with tempo in some lines. I'm guessing the direct knight f5, queen takes g6. There is still nothing too menacing on the horizon, so that's a bit premature. You could prepare it by going king h7, let's say, and once again making white wonder what to do next. I guess that would be my choice. Maybe Magnus also thinking about rook takes b4 business if after bishop a3 he has anything promising, but I can't see anything too great here yet. So the world champion has his water bottle over there. Is taking a pretty hard look at the position. Trying to figure out what to do. I'm reading that the computer says queen g3 was a blunder. One move I haven't mentioned, rook f4 looks very natural. Just attacking this knight once more. Is that the reason computer dislikes it? That looks like a good move. Just activate all these pieces. And then if the knight were to move, now once again knight f5 themes become very scary. Queen g6, queen f2 probably just wins. King h1, queen d2. So yeah, rook f4 looks like a good move, no? Yeah, not overly surprisingly. Carlsen's doing well. Also doing well on the clock, where he still has double his opponent's time. Now he's going to spend some to calculate, probably, this rook f4 move. Did I miss some rook a8 checkmate? Sorry, unplugged here. I do sometimes blunder stuff. In my line, what was it? I can't even remember. Anyway, don't blunder rook a8, mate. Yeah, it was rook f4, knight d2, and I said knight f5. Queen g6, queen f2, king h1, queen d2, which would be a bit of a mistake because of rook a8 check. As several people correctly pointed out. Thank you. Still, knight d2 looks very sad, and I'm sure there's a way to win here. Maybe rook c2. Yeah, the white pieces are just too uncoordinated. And Carlsen, yeah, took his time, but he went for rook f4, which looks like the way to go for sure. Peter KS is saying, where can I find information about similar events which Magnus participates in? I don't know. I can tell you his schedule. After this, he's playing in the Scotland Rapid Tournament. I think over the next weekend. After that, he's playing Norway Chess starting June 3rd, which, yeah, I'll be commentating on Chess24 together with Peter Fiddler for Chess24 premium users. And after that, I believe he's also playing in the Zagreb Classical Tournament starting June 25th, June 26th of the Grand Chess Tour. So pretty busy year of chess for the world champion, who's already played a lot this year. But he is on a roll in classical chess and, of course, wants to use that drive to maybe even tackle new rating records. Who knows? So rook f4 on the board. Pure Bjerre is trying to find a way out. I'll try not to blunder anymore. Rook a8 checkmates. But generally, yeah, the white position is just very, very shaky here. This pawn is hanging, this pawn is hanging, the knight is hanging, all black pieces are active, knight f5 is coming. Queen g3 at felt. Felt wrong. Paul Barta is in the chat, dropping some knowledge. King h7 is probably not forced. Where's King h7, Peter? Do I have a picture of Peter? Here's a picture. Boom! Doing some promo for our upcoming Norway chess commentary, where Magnus Carlsen will, of course, also be partaking if you use the bonus code Norway -2019 for an annual membership. You can get 3 extra months to look at our pretty faces. So, where was King h7, Mr. Svidler? Queen d3 played. This is not blundering mate yet, because here, after Queen f2, King h1, according to my counting skills, this square is still covered enough times, but of course it's sort of an admission that something has gone a little wrong, and rook ce4, followed by Queen f2 has been played, just going after the bishop. I would guess just Queen takes b2 is a plan, or rook e4, Queen e4, Queen takes b2, when the material balance has sharply tilted in black's favor, who would now have 2 pieces, not the most active of pieces, but that could change, and a pawn for just a measly rook. Well, the king still has a pretty safe shelter on h7. So that looks pretty bad. Carlsen did it without exchanging on e4, started with Queen takes b2, which, yeah, is probably even better, keeping this option in reserve. If rook a8 check, the king just goes to h7, and there's all these back rank issues. While after, for example, rook to b1, you can still, I'm probably missing mate in 2 or something, but you can still, if you can't see anything better, go rook takes e4, rook b2, rook e1 is bad news, and after Queen e4, many ways lead to a winning position, for example, rook, Queen takes d2. Bjerre went for a similar version of that. He went rook takes f4. Carlsen's a choice between ef and Queen takes a1 check. Queen a1 would be met by rook to f1. But here, yeah, the black position remains pretty winning. I was going to say Queen d4, maybe after Queen b5 there are still some issues. That's why the world champion is thinking now if he should maybe just go ef4, and indeed that is what he does, leaving this rook alive. ef4 also wakes up his bishop, which can now be put on the e5 square if needed. So some attention is still required, because now the queen could potentially get to some good squares, but Carlsen seems to have everything under control. Goes knight f5, heading for this e3 square. He's saying, you can have my pawn, but after knight e3, I'll be threatening checkmate. My king is still safe on h7. And frankly, I do not expect you to survive, Mr. Bjerre. Peter is dropping some complicated knowledge in the chat, but I'm too slow to follow all his lines. There was some rook h8 checkmate somewhere. Now there will be no such checkmate. And Magnus has established his favorite Kraken on the e3 square and will pretty unceremoniously end this game by maybe picking up another pawn and then eventually checkmating the white king, Queen e4. Reminding white that he can never get too kinky, because he has to defend g2 and he has to defend the back rank against potential mates. The king is safe where it is right now. The bishop can join the action from e5 if it chooses to. And there's also the good old plan of going g5, g4. Queen f3 is trying to buy his way out by exchanging queens, but this endgame is pretty hopeless. I would guess just bishop to e5, followed by the king joining the action. The bishop on e5 protects everything. The d5 pawn can't really be saved, so it's fairly resignable, I would say. Rook c8 check plate. King f7. Not a surprise there. And yeah, no shame in resigning here. And that is indeed what happened. So yeah, good game by Magnus, no surprises there. And it's one of those where it's not completely obvious where things went wrong for Bjerre, at least to me. Somewhere around here, I mentioned the position is not so simple, but obviously white is okay. I did not like this move bishop b2 much. It misplaces the bishop for the events that would unfold later. Stop doing this to me. So I would maybe point my finger there and think about, yeah, queen b3 without committing this bishop to this mediocre square on b2. Then later, let me briefly cheat with the compy. Yeah, here the compy already likes black's position. After takes, rook c4. He says the best move was king to h1. That's a nice little move, just making sure that queen f2 never comes with check. And black is still better, but the drama continues. And speaking of the drama continues, it looks like the players are already gearing up for the match with colors reversed. Carlsen needs a draw to secure overall victory in this match, but I have a feeling his strategy probably won't be to offer a quick draw, but instead. Then I can never figure out who sits on what side. How hard can it be, guys? Whereas white sits behind the white pieces, whereas black sits behind the black pieces. So yeah. While they're figuring that out, my brief marketing speech of the day, I think I already gave one. We have a bunch of new video series coming out on Chess24. Romain Edouard on the French e4, e6 should be out right here, right now. But in this game, we do not get the French, but we get the Sicilian. Bjerre is going for e4, c5, knight f3, d6. I believe he's a knight off player, but Carlsen is not in the mood for a sharp open Sicilian. Plays another favorite of his, 3 bishop b5 check. And after bishop d7, he once again follows his strategy to try to get his young opponent out of book. Quickly plays the move a4, which has been seen in these positions, but it's nowhere near as popular as bishop takes d7, followed by c4, short castles, and then trying to get a Maroczy structure. So a4 played, knight to f6, pawn to d3. Yeah, Magnus, I'm not sure of freestyling, I'm sure there's some logic to it, but is not playing theoretical main lines. Just once again trying to get a fluid structure and hoping to use his superior strategic understanding. In the early middle game. What's happening in the chat? Poop Hederick is saying, blatant disregard for his C24 colleague. I just couldn't understand in which position Peter was giving that line. Sorry, I'm not that smart. I do believe he is a sociopath. Yeah, that's not very nice, Poop Hederick. Jerk to the max. Well, that's a nice username. Is saying, how can you trust the guy eating his coffee cup? Yeah. Great to have you guys. So, after knight to f6, d3, g6, Carlsen will eventually have to show his hand. What he wants to do regarding the central structure. If he wants to go for rook e1, c3 and d4, or if he wants to go for c4, knight c3, and then tried to get in d4, some sort of delayed Maroczy. He went for rook e1 first, bishop to g7 played. Bjerre's moves are easy for now. He will castle, put a knight on c6, and then try to figure out if he should go a6 or bishop g4 if it's allowed. Well, yeah, I'm curious to see what plan Carlsen comes up with here. You can always say, okay, I'm not going to do anything. I'll go knight d2, knight f1, but that does seem like a little passive, frankly. So, I'm not sure. I would still think that, well, first of all, I don't think the line Carlsen played is meant to get an opening advantage. I think black is perfectly fine here. But I would still think that c3 followed by d4 is the most logical way to eventually handle this central situation. He started with knight b2, short castles, and he put a knight on c4, which is already slightly outside of my pay grade to explain this. After a6, he obviously wants to take and then argue that the b6 square is a little weak. But I'm not really sure I like this. Can I go d5 maybe? Even this position after a6, I don't think black has any issues whatsoever. He has the two bishops, the b6 square, okay. It's a little weakened, but we always have knight d7 if we need it. So I would think that black is doing fairly alright here. Magnus has taken a few liberties. He has not taken any liberties on the clock. He's blitzing out these moves, looking confident, which of course is very unpleasant to face. If you are sitting there wondering, is this some deep world championly strategy, which I'm frankly also sitting here wondering, because I don't like it. I would go a6, I believe takes, and I can't see anything too bad happening. Now b5 is a bit of a threat, so you have to go a5. And then yeah, there seem to be many sensible approaches. You could pull a Carlsen and go for this structure playing e5, which is a structure that Magnus likes, with reverse colors in pretty much every situation. But there's no particular need for it either, like a move like knight to g7. I do think that the black position is very reasonable here. So curious what Jonas Bjerre will decide on. The made a d5 I also find somewhat appealing. Just trying to clarify the situation in the center. I was wondering about knight e5, but after knight e5, I would guess I can even take, and take here if nothing better occurs, simplifying the issue. But no, just d4 is better, just grabbing the pawn. Yeah, so this doesn't work for white. Therefore, after d5, I would think he has to take, and following knight takes d5, black has a very healthy structure, very healthy position, and I think no problems whatsoever. The problem, of course, he does have is that he has to make moves, he has to take decisions. And that's easier said than done when facing the world champion. But in rapid, yeah, spending too much time. Because at some point there will be critical tactical questions to answer, as were in the last game. And then you will miss these minutes that you spent here on deciding between queen c7, a6, d5, rook e8, e5. Probably not e5, because d6 is same. Bishop g4, whatever you're considering. So, make a move. Coffee is empty. It's time to face the harsh reality that there's no more coffee. a6 played. Bishop takes c6, bishop takes c6. Yeah, a6, perfectly fine decision. Just, he should have made it a little more quickly. And Carlsen goes e5. Very double-edged decision. He's freeing this bishop on the long diagonal, but he's also trying to induce some weaknesses in the black position. So let's say I go knight d5. What's the big deal, Mr. Magnus? Bishop g5, but even f6 here, I wouldn't be too concerned. So I'm not sure what he wants. Possibly takes, then just play this position. But yeah, black is doing perfectly fine here. Instead, pawn on e5 was taken, which should also be fine actually. D takes e5, knight takes e5. I didn't want to allow this. But even here, bishop to d5. Actually, no, a5, I don't know. Now the knight gets a little too jumpy for my taste. So I'm not sure. It still looks reasonable for black. Also rook c8. But with this knight on e5 and a5 incoming, so the other knight can go here, I have a feeling, maybe I'm missing something obvious, but I have a feeling he should not have done this. You could go for some extreme measures. He won't, but just for the record, taking here, followed by b5, he would regain the piece, but after rook, wherever. Back bc, knight c4. Black is somewhat weak in his structure, and would be a little worse. So this is not a great idea. Ahmadi Like Chess is asking, is this a tournament? Not really, I would call it an exhibition match. Magnus Carlsen is in Copenhagen, and he gave a Simul, and now, as the final act, then he gave an interview, and the final part of the program is his match against the biggest Danish talent, Jonas Buhl Bjerre. 14 years old, rated around 2500, number 8 in the world, under 16, and of course, a great hope of Danish chess for the future. He lost the first game with the white pieces, and now has the black pieces. Got a very reasonable position out of the opening. I did not really like this d takes e5 decision, as I mentioned. After knight takes e5, he went rook c8, which looks fine. Carlsen, who does respect bishops, takes on c6, rook takes c6, and now he goes a5, making this knight on c4 eternal. And sort of freezing the black pawn structure, so I still don't think there's too much damage done, but now white's position has become much easier to play because his knight is so strong. Rook e8, bishop d2 I think was played, and yeah, now the white moves are very easy to make. Queen to f3, h4, h5 becomes an idea. You can double rooks on the e-file. Well, it's not so clear for black what structure he should go for. You don't want to go e5 because that pawn can become more of a target and you're restricting your bishop. You don't have the b5 break. So yeah, things have gone a little wrong here. And I would once again point to the move d takes e5, which I did not like. Also, again, disclaimer, unplugged. I could be very wrong. But to me, knight d5 looks like a better move. Yeah, queen f3 has been played. It's just unpleasant. On the clock, the situation is not desperate yet, but the pattern from the first game continues that Carlsen is playing much more quickly. Of course, it's more pressure for Jonas Bjerre, who of course understands he's a big underdog in his match, but he wants to play decent chess. And that sometimes can somewhat make you freeze on the clock a little bit because you're afraid of making a mistake. But yeah, I've talked about the importance of the clock now. He has played e5. I mentioned I couldn't really see what structure to opt for and I didn't like this e5 move, but maybe it's the best. Given the circumstances, at least this rook can come to e6, so e5 would be pretty well defended. Black gains some space. And there's no immediate way to break the black position, at least that I can see. Rook to e2, rook c, e6, rook a1 has been played, keeping some pressure on this e5 pawn. But black is still reasonably solid. It's just once again the question how to follow up. You can't move this knight because b7 is hanging. Maybe queen to d7, even though it would give me pause that then in the future knight b6 could be coming with tempo. f5 is a move you consider to prepare e5, e4, but it's also really weakening. So I'm not sure. I don't like black's position that much here because his knight on c4 is so strong. He played queen to d7. And now Magnus will have some decisions to make. if he wants to go h4, I guess he doesn't actually. If he may wants to go bishop c3, inviting the option of knight takes c3, and he just plays a good prophylactic move g3, making sure there's never any knight f4 in the future. Still, of course, keeping his option to play h4, and also following the old Kramnik wisdom. I think it was maybe Magnus who told me that. Kramnik says, whenever you can go g3, king g2, just do it. It always improves your position. Obviously, disclaimer, not always, but it is a general rule, good rule of thumb. If you don't know what to do, throw in some g3, king g2 there. See what happens. Norda Tao saying, Bjerre almost seems more solid with black than with white. Maybe he's less nervous now. Yeah, hard to say so much. Depends on the opening. I think Bjerre got a good position in this first game, or a decent position. But yeah, Magnus just has so much experience with the setup he played in the first game, this d6, g6, that he understood the nuances a little better. And yeah, this bishop b2 move I didn't like. Then things went downhill fast. Well, here, yeah, I think white is slightly better. But the black position is reasonably solid, so Magnus will have to show some sort of idea how to make progress. Which is not easy, because you have this reverse Marocci type of structure, where these pawns do control a lot of space. So even though I like white's position and his pretty much eternal knight on c4, due to the pawn on a5, stopping b5 forever, it's still very hard to come up with a breakthrough. You could think about rook b1 followed by b4, but that loses a bit of control over the center. Maybe f5, e4 becomes a topic. So yeah, by no means clear how to proceed, at least to me. That's why Carlsen goes for this g3, followed by king g2, just also having the added advantage that it's asking Bjerre to make a move. He played h6, which also I'm not sure how I feel about. And, oh no, he played queen c6, sorry, queen to g2, and now h6. Queen g2? Am I supposed to understand that? I thought the point was king g2. Queen g2, maybe clearing the way for his f-pawn? Some deep maneuvering there by Mr. Magnus. Queen g2, h6 on the board. Yeah, it's one of these positions that whoever blinks first and weakens his position might regret it. Probably black doesn't want to go f5 anytime soon. White probably doesn't want to, for example, touch a c-pawn, weakening d3. Magnus keeps making quite little moves like h3, which also sort of indicate that he does not exactly have a direct plan to proceed, and he once again tries to improve his king very slightly by going probably king to h2 next. What he does do is he makes moves more quickly than Jonas Bjerre. I'll keep rambling about that. I just think it's important. Just make a move. Go f5 or king h7 or do something. So now, yeah, king h7 played. I would guess we continue this little waiting game of ours by playing king to h2. Here we go. And now I at least would lose patience and push the pawn to f5. I'm not sure what happens if you just play waiting move queen d7, what Carlsen's idea is, because the black position does look reasonably solid. But I wouldn't be able to bear it, and I'd go f5. And maybe regret it, because f5, of course, takes away some support from this e6 rook, which I don't see how to use immediately. But that could be a scenario where at some point in the future f4 comes. And there are weaknesses on the e file. Still, I'd say just go for it. See what happens. Gran Delicioso is suggesting Alpha Zero style, Rook H1, King G1, followed by H4, H5. No, I don't think this is the position for it. But, yeah. I really struggle suggesting constructive plans for either side. F5 played. Oh no, he hasn't. He played Queen D7. At least I gave this as an alternative, if the plan is to do nothing and sit and wait. I wanted f5 though. Noble Thomas saying, we love you in our household, Jan. You are being projected in the living room. The poor kids. I do appreciate it, but yeah, that's a scary thought. Mewando saying, I just tuned in. What have you been doing all day? I've been here all day. Literally. Magnus. He's been doing stuff all day. Traveled to Copenhagen. Checked into the hotel. Gave a Simul. Gave an interview where the interviewer was pushing him. Are you smart, bro? Can you spot that's a cigar on that picture? And now he's playing a rapid match. 2 games against the great Danish hope, Jonas Bjerre, to wrap up the day. Both sides seem to be a little out of ideas. Magnus played King H2, Queen D7 was played, and he went back to G1. Queen C6 was played. My guess is if Magnus offered a repetition of moves, Bjerre would take it here. It would make him lose the mini-match, but it would make him draw the world champion with black, which is, of course, a very respectable result and possibly a bit of a milestone for him. So, we'll see. Magnus, normally ruthless as he is, he will probably just try to win this game and find a way to complicate. I'm not quite sure how. Rook B1 followed by B4 maybe. But he could also be practical in saying, I've done my job, King H2 gets me match victory if you choose to repeat, Mr. Bjerre. And I really want to go explore. Where do you explore in Copenhagen? Beautiful city. I just don't know what stuff is called. I'm sure he will know where to go. But yeah, he's thinking. He also can't see a plan. What's the plan, sir? Magnus mentioned in the interview he normally doesn't have long-term plans because situations change so quickly in chess. Your opponent will often prevent your best laid plans, and then you have to readjust and rely on your pattern recognition and all that good stuff. Bishop C3 played. What's happening? Chess 24 handed Peter a sword? That sounds like a dangerous thing to do. No offense to Peter. I would not want to be around him when he's a sword. Norda Tower saying they've got mermaids in Copenhagen, so I guess he'll enjoy. I've been to that mermaid. True story. I was taking a tour on a boat and I drove by the famous Copenhagen mermaid. Mermaids. Magnus has decided to change the structure when Bishop C3. And Bjerre probably correctly decides to take. Knight takes C3. Now you should not take on C6 because this would be a painful little Zwischenschach, creating a rook up situation. And Carlsen does not want that, therefore he goes B takes C3. And yeah, the structure is different now. There are targets on the B file, but of course White has also weakened himself. He opened himself up to maybe the E5, E4 pawn push. I was a bit curious about this because it attacks C3 directly. And after rook E4, say rook E4, rook E4. I like saying rook E4. Queen E4. Is White better? Maybe this is his plan. Queen E4, D4, Bishop C3, some knight D6. Even though the past A pawn is a bit scary. Bishop A5, knight B7, let's say bishop B4. This guy is pretty fast. So, not sure that is his plan. Instead, queens were exchanged and now E4 is played, leading to similar stuff. Targeting this guy, rook takes E4 played, rook takes E4. Maybe wants to go DE, keep rooks on the board here. That's probably a more prudent course of action. Because after rook E4, which I was looking at, rook E4, DE, bishop C3, you can never really jump around because the knight has to defend this pawn on A5. So I would expect him to go DE, bishop C3, rook somewhere, rook E2 probably. Yeah, D takes E4 played. Keeping some tension in the position and also having some plans like E5, F4, knight to D6 in whatever order. Still doesn't look too bad for black. Rook D8 maybe. Going for a quick rook to D4. Ah, sorry, played rook E3, not rook E2, probably for that very reason. To make this bishop go to D4, so it blocks the square from his own rook. Bishop D4, and now you could either go rook B3, or you could go back to E2. Let's see which one. Mr. Carlsen chooses. What happens here? Ah, he goes rook e2. Doesn't want simplifications, even though this looked interesting as well. Oh yeah, rook e2 played. Now once again we see the... Hang on. First of all, we only see the hair of Jonas Buhl Bjerre, but now we're back. We see the crippling effect of this pawn on a5 still. That by itself it holds these two black pawns, because b5 is pretty much always off the table, while white does have a 4 versus 3 majority on the king side, and he slowly starts pushing it. He wants to go f4, king f3, e5, and then at the right time go knight to d6. So maybe this is instructive stuff Carlsen is doing. He took a long time deciding on this bishop to c3, but he is the world champion of chess. He probably understood the position correctly. Artifact Drafter is saying, Bjerre playing good for being 14 years old. That's for sure. He is a 14-year-old 2500 player. There's not that many of those. He is the world number 8 under 16. So you do the math. I don't know what math there is to do that. It's just a thing I like to say. f4, king f3 played. I'm a bit curious why I started with king f3. I thought e5 could be an option to mate rook d8 with knight d6. But I guess it doesn't concern him too much. He feels after rook d8 he can still go wherever, rook e3. And keep complete control. Yeah, rook e3 looks like a decent move actually, hitting the bishop. Bishop d4, we go rook d3, then c3 becomes an issue, rook b3, e5. Now all of a sudden it has become pretty unpleasant for black to play. Without making that obvious a mistake. You guys stop switching the camera. Who can keep track? They don't listen to me. Sometimes it feels like the city of Copenhagen does not listen to me. Bishop f6 played, but yeah, that's already a bit of an admission that something has gone wrong. And you have to go passive. Might be a good move though. The bishop is headed to e7 to cover this vulnerable d6 square. And yeah, black has to sit very passively after something like e5. Bishop e7, rook b3. But maybe it's the best way to put up some resistance. It is fairly grim though. Now this knight can eventually start heading for the even more powerful d5 square. There can be fortified by playing pawn to c4. So yeah, this looks a bit like a Berlin endgame gone wrong, where white also often has this 4 versus 3, and if he manages to establish a knight on d5, things can get ugly pretty fast. People are naming players that were even higher rated at age 14. They do exist, but not that many, so I don't think it takes anything away from Jonas Bjerre that being 2500 at age 14 is pretty impressive. e5 played by Carlsen, bishop e7 shall be played. There's some more strategic decisions here that I don't feel qualified to make. If rook d3, for example, is winning, I would guess no. I would guess you don't want to go rook d3. But it's certainly a candidate as well, because now if the king can march up the board unimpeded, then things could get bad for black. So maybe he would have to go f5 to clear some space for his own king to join the action. I guess Carlsen won't play rook d3, but it's certainly on the list of candidates, because the one thing black has going for himself is his active rook here that could potentially jump to d4. Rook b3 is the most obvious move. When I thought rook d4 didn't work because of rook b7, but actually I'm not so sure about this. Here, let's say rook takes c2, and after e6 there's always this typical defense king f6. When, I don't know, black might end up being a pawn down, but there are normally very good drawing chances here. If the a pawn gets exchanged for the c pawn, and the 3 versus 2 remaining would be a draw. So Magnus has to make sure that forcing the issue like that does not lead to a drawn rook ending. But he plays rook b3. and in a way is also telling Bjerre, you decide if you want to go for rook d4, if you feel you can hold this. I haven't committed to rook takes b7 yet. I could also go rook d4, knight e3. And once again, ask you some tricky questions. And now, what I was maybe mentioning once or 20 times earlier, the fact that Bjerre is down to a minute 35, while Carlsen still has 6.5 minutes, also becomes a bit of a factor. So he played rook d4, which feels like the way to go. Rook d7, there was no immediate punishment, but if you play passively, it's plan I mentioned, knight e3, king e4, knight e5, or knight e3, c4, knight d5, does look pretty appealing. Peter Svidler is saying, next out. Svidler speaks a secret Twitch language, which I still have to learn. I hope he will teach me, because I don't know what next out means. Blope75FM is saying he's calculating the rook ending after rook b3, rook d4. Yeah, we're thinking the same. Maybe he was hoping that Bjerre wouldn't play rook d4 so quickly. Because now, here, I don't really see a knockout after rook c2. e6, king f6 as mentioned. You can start with rook a7. Then at least if these pawns were to get exchanged for each other, like the black c pawn and the white a pawn, you would get a 4 versus 3 rook ending, which offers somewhat better winning chances. And also e6 could still be alive as a threat. For example, here c4, e6. Very much looks like a move. One point being that king f6 is now met by e7, which feels unpleasant, trying to queen that pawn. So maybe Magnus will just go for this. If you want to know if it's winning or a draw with best play, I do not know. It's obviously unpleasant for black. But if it was winning, I'm not sure. No, he decided to play knight e3. That was the other move I pointed out, and Bjerre goes back to d7. Rook b4 was maybe an option, but I guess he did not like the position after knight to d5. Rook, no, maybe not knight d5. Maybe takes first. Not sure. Maybe rook b4 was interesting, because now I don't see how this plan. He plays c3 to stop rook d4 check. Of king e4, knight d5 can be stopped. And once that's on the board, then white can improve his position at will. He can put the pawn c4, then g4, and f5. And just win slowly but steadily. He's also saying, I'm not sure if the rook ending was winning, but I prefer to keep some more play in the position. I'm ahead on the clock. I'm one of the best endgame players, if not the best endgame player out there. So maybe there will be more scope for mistakes with more pieces. Bishop d8 played, knight to c4, covers the pawn. At least he's stopping this king e4, knight d5 plan I was talking about endlessly. And he brings up a good point that even with the knight on d5, bishop d8 would still provide some counterplay against the a5 pawn. So now, yeah, we still want to go king e4, then knight d6 at the right moment. If that doesn't work, also g4, f5 becomes an option. And the question is, can black generate any counterplay? He played king f8. King e4 is no-brainer, and he does play it. Wow. Moderator Pulborta is saying, okay, that settles it. Julius Serbai, after that statement, the answer to your earlier question is no. Wow. Harsh words. I don't know what the earlier question was. But it does look like Peter is restoring order in the chat. Finally. Carlsen, in the meantime, is doing this improving his position thing, which is fairly unpleasant if you're low on time, because f5 is coming, and what can you do really? No, it's just, this king to e7 felt too slow too, because now there's really nothing you can move. The rook can't move because his pawn is dropping with check. Bishop can't move because his pawn is dropping without check. King can't move because it gets checked. So I don't know what you do, f6. But now Carlsen says, okay, now that there is food on the 6th rank, I am willing to play rook ending. Knight b6, bishop b6, rook b6. And look at the rook dominating the situation. F takes e5. He doesn't recapture. I'm curious why he didn't. I thought his idea was to just go king e5. But instead he goes rook g6. And maybe he's done one of these calculating things where he's figured out already that after ef4 the pawn ending could be winning. Don't ask me, I'm not that smart, but I wouldn't rule it out. If it's not winning yet, then you can also just take on h6 obviously, which also does look winning. So Carlsen will take a while now to calculate. If this business is winning for white, or I don't know, king f4, h4, those Simul, or not, and yeah, he does go for it. So my guess is that he ended his calculations with affirmative or yes affirmative. Those are the options. And we have the endgame, and he starts with h4, does not waste time taking the f-pawn. Probably also making sure that black does not get any ideas about b5, ab, a5. Now I wish I could count. g5, say takes, a4, g6, a3. So this is one of those queening with check situations. b7, king c7, g7, a2. I screwed up the move order a bit, but the point still stands. And we queen with check indeed. Instead, Carlsen went, yeah, he didn't screw up the move order. He went for b7 first, forcing this king c7 business and the king on the back rank, which ensures that the pawn will give a check once it arrives there. And once it did arrive there, the game was over. And Magnus Carlsen wins the game and the match 2-0. Congratulations to the world champion. Yeah, no surprises there. But I believe especially in the second game, Bjerre played a very good game, put up a lot of resistance, and probably will learn a lot from this stuff, because not all of us get the experience to play the world champion at age 14, being already a Grandmaster level player. His manager Espen Aktestein compared it to Magnus when he got to play Kasparov at age 13. So yeah, I think, first of all, always impressive to see Magnus in action, how easy he makes it look to win such an endgame by just improving his position. And I also do think that it was, yeah, in the first game he seemed a bit nervous and played too slowly and then collapsed quickly. But the second game, I believe Bjerre will be pretty happy about and will have nothing at all to be ashamed of. I'm not sure what language they're speaking over there. I guess it's Danish. We can listen in for a second.
Du får lige en blomst her, den kan du så drikke om 4 år. Og Magnus, vi er ved vejs ende. Hvordan var din aften?
Nej, jeg vandt 26 af 26 partier, så jeg er veldig fornøjd.
Skakkens supernova, det er Magnus Carlsen. Stor tak! Og dermed er der ikke mere tilbage at sige her fra scenen. En stor tak til jer, fordi I kom i aften. Stor tak til Peter Lund Madsen for det meget fine interview, og til de sponsorerne Energi Danmark, Milestone, Folkehuset Absalon, BT, Volvo og Nordic Bet. Kom rigtig godt hjem, og tak for i aften, og tusind tak til jer.
Vi er på. Og det var jo fantastisk.
Alright guys, there we see the hosts of the Danish official show, Rune Friborg and my old friend Grandmaster Jan Gustafsson, saying fantastic match, yada yada yada. I will say, fun match, fun night, fun Simul. Thank you guys so much for joining me, hanging out here, because yeah, frankly the Simul coverage wasn't planned, so the usual apologies for talking too much nonsense, even though I never really mean it, because I'll talk just as much nonsense the next time. But yeah, it's been fun, always impressive to see the world champion in action, dropping knowledge and making chess moves. I will call it a night. Before that, of course, the reminder that big things coming up on chess24.com. 3 new video series are being published these days. Romain Edouard on the French Black Repertoire. Sopiko Guramishvili, apologies for messing up that name, has a series on the 4 F3 Nimzo-Indian, very sharp line. So that will be published, I think today or tomorrow, these days soon. Then in the next coming days, I have a video series together with Josef Dorfman, where he explains his method in chess, like what elements he considers the most important. That's coming out, and then, of course, the next big thing is the Norway chess commentary with Magnus Carlsen, with the world champion, and pretty much all of the top 10, which I will be commentating with the gentleman who hung out with us in the Twitch chat for most of the night. So thanks, that was a pleasant surprise. To Mr. Paul Borta, 8-time Russian champion, Peter Svidler, who unfortunately got kicked out of the FIDE Grand Prix in Moscow in the quarterfinals. But yeah, he'll be here for doing Norway Chess. It's a show for chess24.com premium members only, so you can become a premium member and take advantage of one of the promos we have for the Norway Chess thing by using the bonus code Norway-2019. You get 3 months extra if you get an annual subscription, or if you prefer this beautiful hoodie I've been wearing, you can get a free hoodie together with your annual Chess24 subscription. If that's all a little rich for your blood, you can of course also take a monthly subscription. That will allow you all to watch all these series that I mentioned and taking you through the Norway chess commentary. So check out chess24.com, check out our new shop, check out the premium section, and yeah, it would be great to see you guys during Norway chess. Thank you so much for spending this night with me. If you speak the common tongue, that is German, that's not German. If you speak the language of German, I'll be doing commentary on the FIDE Grand Prix. What is it? Semifinals tomorrow. Rishuk versus Nakamura. That's a fun one. And Nepomniachtchi against Radek Wojciechek. So, hopefully see you there. If not, I'll see you around in Chess24 land one of these days. Thank you so much for watching. It's been fun. Have a good night. Bye.